1097, South 57 at Orange Park. Stop.
94 vehicle, 20,002.
7710, 1098 4 vehicle 20,002.
Oh, it's going to be 2 vehicle 1182. Coming route to that famous Snow Park.
121098 and route to the Snow Park, 2 vehicles 1182. Have one, Mary.
Pick up private property, very minor 1182, the party's exchange info, will be 98.
Mary, copy all. Units, update only on that pursuit. It's going to be southbound at Manchester. South 405. 405 at Manchester. Still not requesting CHP. It's information only. KMA 801 is clear at 1202.
One 10 and 11 2. Parties 1023 at 27702 Crown Valley at Cecil Pastures at the Albertson. It happened on Crown Valley at Unknown Cross near the Albertsons, and they pulled into the Albertsons. Silver Mercedes 550 and a white Ford Transit van.
Mary, 1098. 310 Mary, 10-4.
D1203, go ahead.
They're confirmed they're on the westbound side? He's down so far.
81203, that's affirmative. It was called in westbound just east of Citrus. It was called in by a witness. 8120 10-4, I'll show you to westbound 210, just east of Citrus.
Is that vehicle stolen? Does it need to be located, or is it just for H. Henry?
1179 northbound 57 south of Grand. Silver four-door vehicle versus a pole.
1, I copy en route.
81601 copies en route.
LA 603 Mary, out from Diamond Bar and the 50.
81603 Mary's en route from Diamond Bar in the 60. 10-4, for that 57.
And at Indian Hill.
81571's en route to 610 in Indian Hill.
Well, we'll try and ascertain.
Route 1019.
Will be 98 back around to the area.
81700 and 701 is 98 back en route back to the area.
Result. Receipt.
77 S3 copies off.
Westminster units on a failure to yield pursuit. Southbound 405 north of the 105 on a maroon Honda Civic for William David Victor 696. Southbound 405 from the 105 on a failure to yield. Original wants for failure to yield, now wanted for a 20,001. Maroon Honda Civic for William David Victor 696.
566 Mary, copy.
5566 Mary, 10-4.
From westbound 10 out Pacific.
103 from westbound 10 at Pacific.
Mary 97 eastbound 60 grand off ramp. And start 11185 for Mazda 3 major front end.
8160397 northbound 57 at Grand. 11185 for Mazda 3 front end.
On 60 grand off ramp.
Eastbound 60 grand off ramp.
We're still getting further. Solo male occupant, unknown if weapons involved.
81603 Mary, 1022 fire.
Getting on 405 southbound at Main.
310 Mary from South 405 at Main.
IS3 will be standing by at South 405 at Normandy.
S3 from South 405 at Normandy.
Do we have an airship overhead?
Stand I'll confirm, sir.
5S3, copy.
310-4.
South LA frequency.
King 610, I copy you're going to South LA.
CHP to take over on that pursuit from southbound 405 approaching Artesia.
We've got a King unit on the way. Just 10-9 your call sign. King 2, 10-4.
King 6 on the white as well. 615 405.
King 6 on the white as well.
That party has AAA en route. I copy you're westbound west of Valley View.
Toyota Prius, I believe they said also has an oil pan issue. And Start Caltrans, they have a light bulb that's been taken out. Pole number 24242.
81603 Mary, 1185 for an Infiniti sedan, a Toyota Prius, and Caltrans for pole 24242.
Trying to get him to the right shoulder now. 5594, that's a firm on the brake.
Relocating to Western, sir?
Can you give me a 1020 on this?
10 for South 405 approaching Crenshaw as of 1 ago. He's en route.
Robert 198.
Standing by 110 transit southbound 405.
Standing by 110 trans to the South 405.
Fraser on to the westbound in the Gore Point.
S3, I copy. You're 1097 behind them, southbound approaching Normandy. All units stand by to clearance.
We're still waiting for a cross for an update for the pursuit vehicle.
Traveling south 405, I'll advise the green once I get further updates.
10-4, yeah, the gray is trying to get in position, but we're not getting any updates from LA on where this is. I know it's coming southbound.
It's current 20 with south 405 approaching 110. I'll advise as it gets closer for the western.
10-4, last known location was southbound 405 approaching the 110.
Southbound approaching the 110, number 3 lane, 49 miles an hour.
77 S3 is primary, southbound approaching the 110, number 3 lane.
We're south 4 out.
He copies all en route.
But LAPD keeping a very safe distance. They're not trying any pit maneuvers here. They're not getting close to him. Or that.
And I just got word from our booth that the CHP is now taking over this pursuit, so they're now handling it as he continues on the freeway. Authorities. If you're just joining us, this started in Culver City. I want to say about an hour ago, authorities tried to stop the driver. They thought it might be a suspected stolen vehicle. He took off, went into Inglewood, and then went to Westchester. We've seen 4 different pit maneuvers. All of them were fouled. We've also seen this driver hit a pedestrian.
120, I copy. You're 1097 is primary.
The damage to that windshield is from the impact that scooter rider slammed right into that windshield. We're told he did not suffer serious injuries, but we're trying to update just the exact condition of that person because the impact looked pretty serious.
41 Santa
And
Ana,
now we're
1182.
here, Harbor Gateway, 405 South, the CHP now taking over this chase as the
to at
suspect
4621
continues
Santiago
his
Canyon
drive
Road,
south.
about a half a mile east of the lake entrance. It's an SUV and another vehicle.
And you can see now he's starting to catch up to traffic, so there are more people on the roadway and more danger that it presents not only for the LAPD
and are you
chasing
calling
this
it?
car, but the driver himself.
That's a firm, not delays in
On
it.
the 405 South.
Still trying to get further.
There he's passing some civilian vehicles, so there
H50
are
10-4,
other
I copy
cars
South
on the
LA,
road,
is in it.
possibly in danger during all this. But
50
as
confirming you're
Veronica points out,
97.
traffic's pretty light, which is good
We're
news.
about 3 out when
That
I'm
helps.
monitoring both
But
frequencies.
we are getting some word that there could
H50
be some
10-4, I
traffic
copy
ahead.
3 out. 55S3
which could pose
Santa
a threat. But it still looks like they're a distance away, and it does look like LAPD
8 miles an hour, number
CHP
2 lane.
rather getting closer. So they had quite a distance.
77S3 requesting a unit to take over as secondary
Yeah,
southbound
they've closed the
approaching
gap a bit,
Avalon,
so maybe they're
58
getting
miles
ready
per
to
hour
do
in the number
something.
2.
I'm surprised, like you were talking about the spike strips. We haven't seen an attempt to use spike strips. Maybe they just haven't had the opportunity, because that does take some coordination in terms of getting people out in front of this
That's
guy
I copy
and setting it up.
attempt
So
to
they just
hit
may not have had a
approximately
chance
4
to do
times
that.
by
We have
LAPD.
seen the pit maneuvers, obviously 4 of them, which is kind of shocking that he's still able to flee from police after 4 pit maneuvers.
Cars.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear you, brother.
Despite this, if you take a look here, they completely flip him
S3, he's going to be
around.
passing Avalon in the carpool lane, sir.
Which takes a lot of training and is very difficult to do. We've seen pit maneuvers where
Okay.
it looks like they're going to be able to hit the car, and there's no
Southbound
effect.
approaching Carson,
And
number
then
2
when
lane,
they come here
44
for the
miles
second
per hour.
time, flip him completely around.
77S3 southbound 405 approaching Carson, number 2 lane, 44 miles per hour.
This car is very well made, and this guy has no interest in stopping. I'm sorry to joke about it, but this car is pretty resilient considering the damage it's already sustained.
77S3 confirm you're in contact with the LAPD here. I'm unable to copy them.
Yeah,
It's going to be done.
that's where they thought they were
Yeah,
going
they seem to be copying me on the light.
And then the fourth one here, which takes
Control, how do you copy now?
flips him around to
LAPD
the
Air
other side of
16, I copy you now, sir.
But it does not.
Go ahead, seat on the right.
And if you do get you look close at the car, you can see the wheels are a little out of alignment, and so there is damage. It's just not enough to
ran
stop
into
this
a
driver at
pedestrian
this
which
time.
bounced off the windshield, and then he ran him over. So now he's wandering for the hit and run felony.
Difficult to say, Kimmy. And we've been trying to see. It looks like somebody in a
Air
white shirt.
16, I copy. Originally wanted for a possible stolen vehicle, then later TC'd or hit a pedestrian, and that's why the windshield is broken.
So far, is it's just a driver.
But it's hard to say too because the back windows
Show
are tinted,
Southern
even though
to
The front windshield
secondary.
is smashed
We're
and the impact
southbound
with the
405
person
at
who was on the
Wilmington,
scooter,
number 2
so you
lane,
can't really
48
see.
miles an hour.
And his visibility must be pretty.
The visibility's got to be terrible for this driver.
77S3, I copy. 2 is now secondary southbound 405 at Wilmington, 48 miles per hour.
I'm trying to do it on
Number 2.
surface streets, where say if a guy is going around the block over and over again, that gives him a chance to get in front of him and lay down some spike strips. But in a situation like
405,
this,
605.
it's quite a bit harder
We'll take
because
over
they've got such a
shortly.
wide area of roadway. Those spike strips don't
Standby
cover.
copy. Western
honestly,
Street
they
unit
cover 2
standing by
lanes
South
maybe.
405 at the
Yeah,
605.
maybe one lane at most, and then they also have to clear the
Oh, yeah,
traffic in the
three copies
front.
that.
There's a
You also
lot of
ascertain if they
coordination
got a
that goes into
supervisor
clearing the spike
en route
strips.
over there.
We've seen so
And
many
then
times
see if any of the motor units
doesn't
can
work well, though.
stage
Just
along the
prevent
405 and
it. So
control the
that's
on-ramp
certainly a
traffic
lot,
going southbound.
more challenging on the highway here.
And being able to running your brakes,
Seventy-seven, 1097, running a brake, holding traffic.
Carson here, and
Just
for
in the way
those
from
of you
got
just
a
joining us here,
55
it's
in
7:18. We want to show you.
I wasn't able to copy that last traffic.
Approaching the 710 is the update I'm getting.
Okay.
from the
That's
right now.
out the front way.
We do want to go back to that video.
Copy
that
at
shows
55S3
this
en route for Westminster.
hitting a scooter rider. We're going to stop it. It is very jarring and so disturbing.
Luna
But
Burgundy,
hitting that
Honda
scooter
Civic.
driver, he
Forwarding
continues
David Victor
on.
696. Again, this is
And
a 20,001
That's where the driver hit his head
suspect.
against that
Hit a
windshield,
pedestrian
so
on Lincoln and
he
Colville.
must have suffered some injuries.
LAPD is requesting
Again,
take
we're
over
still
South LA
working to get an
97.
update on that.
Station 273
As this
is
pursuit
clear,
continues,
1219.
now making its way through Long Beach, the 405 and the 710, and the CHP now handling this pursuit, following the suspect, maintaining a reasonable distance. It doesn't look like
It'll be
they're
overhead.
really
We'll
taking any
call
kind
it
of
South
action right
405,
now.
passing Alameda,
Content to just
number
let it
1 lane
play
at 50.
out. And sometimes that's the safest strategy in a situation like this.
Well, and you absolutely know, after seeing what this driver is capable of, that they are not afraid
South
to
405,
use
approaching the
a deadly
710,
weapon, which in
number
this
2 at
case
50.
is a car.
Right. We've seen one person hurt already, and they certainly don't want to see any kind of repeats like that. So they're being cautious.
Ten
And
four, I
it's not
copy
like
your
they haven't tried to
1097.
stop
You're
this car.
southbound 405 approaching the 710, number 2 at 50 miles per hour.
As this driver continues to evade authorities.
And you see a lot of people taking off, getting off the highway, maybe intentionally or not, but if you are in this area or you know somebody who's possibly driving in this area, probably best to tell them, get off the highway, take surface streets for now, because we really don't know what's going to happen here, and where this driver could be going, what his intentions are, and how long this can continue for.
And let's just update you and recap
858, copy southbound 405, just up to the 710, number 2 lane at 50 miles per hour.
Say was the time. Culver City Police tried to stop the vehicle. It was a suspected stolen vehicle. It had a broken back windshield, which also made it suspicious to them. The driver refused to stop. That's when the pursuit started. Made its way through Inglewood, and I believe that's where the pedestrian was hit. A person riding a scooter hit by the suspect.
With a less lethal.
No update on that person's condition. Here's that impact again, that terrible impact.
It's so hard to watch everything and now, after starting in Culver City, an hour later we are in Long Beach.
858, copy south 405 at Long Beach, number 2 at 50. And Border King 6, I copy southbound at Palo Verde.
All of them executed perfectly, but the driver continued to evade authorities. They obviously didn't damage it enough, but yeah, there you can see he's moving fairly well after that pit maneuver.
Yeah, you have to wonder what's going on inside that person's mind. Just to continue on after being hit like that.
And we don't have any word on who this person is. We don't have ID, we don't have age. It appears to be a man. All we can see are what's through the windshield.
858, copy Westminster units responding with less lethal. You're going to be southbound, just south of Long Beach.
That's all I can really tell you, which isn't a whole lot.
So it looks like there was a little hole in the back windshield, and then that one pit maneuver blasted out that.
Yeah, and the initial report was the back windshield was damaged, and then, Kimmy, you're right, that pit maneuver knocked it out pretty much, and knocked off the back bumper, but did not damage the drivetrain or the wheels enough to stop this person who continues to evade.
Yeah, usually in those pit maneuvers, they're debilitating enough to the wheels will get dismantled or something will happen, possibly.
850, copy southbound, just north of Charity, 50 miles per hour in the number 2.
This car is still
Yeah, it may just be dumb luck. They just didn't hit the wheel in the right spot to knock it out of alignment because, yeah, he's still going. And they're still following. And look at that. The CHP has a helicopter unit right overhead.
At 50 light
I've seen at least 3 or 4 units. I'm sure there are more than that pursuing him as well because this guy, as we've seen, his ability to hurt people. Yeah. And he doesn't appear to be affected by that in terms of stopping and showing something or more. So he's a dangerous person, and they're taking it very seriously.
55S3 10-4 allow 3
we are
units
passing
and
the
a
Long Beach
suit
Airport
when it
now, and
goes
you're
into
starting to see
Westminster.
traffic as we.
The 55S3 just advised it was a possible stolen that turned into the felony hit and run, and you are going to have a K9 unit in this as well.
I'm sure not knowing what's going on because this chase started in Culver City.
547,
now we're going
Lincoln
all the way
Ocean,
down
unable
here,
to maintain lanes and cutting off other
passing the Long
people.
Beach Airport.
Last seen one of those, nothing further.
Yeah, it's difficult for police to clear everybody out when you don't know where the person is going to go. And you're kind of, at some point, you're going to see traffic mixed together.
And what kind of behavior, too, especially that erratic behavior,
right,
hitting pedestrians.
Have advised the suspect is 5150. And unknown if armed.
A lot more people up ahead. Prepared possibly to do something else, as we have been talking about, possibly a spike strip.
540, 1097 eastbound, 7th at the county line.
There on the overpass.
And the spike strip would be great if they can. First, they'd have to clear all the traffic out and get in position and get in a situation where he's not able to just drive around it, which we've seen that happen too. So yeah, it's just complicated in terms of setting something like that up.
And then right now, since he is driving pretty slowly, I mean, he's not going 80, 90 miles an hour, so maybe they're just running out. At some point, he's going to run out of gas.
Yeah, it's an economy car.
Yeah.
It might be a while.
It could be a couple of hours.
But at some point, yeah, he's going to have to run out of gas. I mean, the laws of nature take over at some point.
Yeah, we're fortunate, though, that it's a decent time for him to be on the road.
Yeah.
8060 and L2 or 10-8 route to the 405 in Harbor.
Or early morning traffic hours.
And it's kind of a holiday week, too. Traffic's kind of light out there. So that's working in the favor of authorities. But we've already seen somebody injured, so.
I do always wonder, though, people, you know, just continuing to drive like this. There's a chopper above
Sierra
them,
5 south of
several
Lakewood,
choppers,
number
and
2
there's,
at what
you know,
speed?
vehicles obviously pursuing them, and they just keep going.
5 south
Yeah,
of
you have to
Lakewood,
wonder
number
the
2.
mindset. You're not going to get away, and they still
at 50
try.
light
Well,
traffic.
I mean, after we saw,
And
of course,
11331
that
has
video
my
of him
OIC
just
for
running over
Capistrano.
that
You copy the
scooter
pursuit
rider,
that's
and
coming
there's no
southbound?
regard for life.
Southbound 405.
So it's very hard to
You're not
understand.
dealing with a rational person, is the bottom line. And here's that impact again.
Oh,
For a while, located
tried
in
to
images
swerve
by
out of
the
way.
purple taken
Well,
part
and
set
that's
up at
really
the
disturbing. You're right. There was no attempt to get out to miss
5010
that person.
Purple's getting into
I'm not saying
position,
he
and
tried to hit him, but it
11355
didn't
is
look
my
like he
OIC. You
swerved at
copy
all.
as
You're
well.
right.
So
And
either they weren't
55, I'm
paying
sorry, you're
attention,
setting up at Lake
and,
Forest?
you know, maybe they're under the influence. We don't know, but there's not a rational person.
Delta Bellflower, number 2, 50 light traffic.
all right.
Right.
And he wasn't wearing that.
850 South 405, just north of Bellflower, light traffic at 50.
Injuries, but
It did look like that scooter rider's head hit that windshield
Yeah.
pretty hard, so
And
let's
then
hope
be
he's
en
getting
route.
treatment. When the camera pulled out,
45
you could see
south of
Long Beach
Bellflower, number 2
Airport
at 50
there
light
in the view as well. So now heading south of Long Beach Airport on the 405, a pursuit that has been going on for just over an hour now. It started in
86 to
Culver City,
297 with the TC on
and
Santiago.
CHP, now the primary agency dealing with this pursuit.
Yeah, it started off
55
with
Robert
LAPD
310 with
officers,
less lethal.
following and chasing this car, and yeah, it's since switched hands and switched agencies. over to the
83 at
CHP.
9092, if you can
They-
check for a
they do
possible
that. They
fire
work together,
coming from the brush area, westbound
and figure out
91,
who's
Eastern
going
County.
to be able to continue on, and of course now they're completely out of the LA jurisdiction.
Yeah,
so.
and CHP, as long as he stays on the freeway, they'll take it all the way. But no guarantees of that. We have seen this driver on surface
north of
streets.
Palo
Of course,
Verde.
that's where the pedestrian
Number
is.
50 light traffic.
So no indication that he's got a specific,
Copy, southbound 405,
place
just
to
north of
go,
Palo
I would say,
Verde, number 2 at 50
as he
miles
just
per hour.
kind of, tries to just get away from authorities.
That's right, John. We've talked about this where people get familiar with their neighborhoods, and so that's where they typically return to.
wherever
They
you
can
can take
find,
both the 22 and
roadways,
86
alleyways to
22
duck
or
into,
southbound,
jump out,
southbound on the
maybe a parking
405.
garage. But this does not appear to
No,
be the case
no. We've seen
here.
a situation where people get on the cell phone and they call their friends,
Right,
hey, I'm coming to the neighborhood, help me out. But that's not what we're
It's
seeing.
going north,
This person
605.
I just don't think has a place to go right now.
Or a plan at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
But what we know is it was stolen.
Well, it's
South
suspected.
405,
It's
Palo Verde,
suspected.
number
We
2
don't
at
know
50 light
much,
traffic.
Kimmy, unfortunately. All we
05
know is
South
what we've
Palo
seen
Verde,
in
number
this
2 at
pursuit,
50
that
light
this
traffic.
person
20,
is
I'm sorry,
responsible
you're
for a hit
covered.
and
What
run
was traffic?
of a pedestrian and is desperate to get away because we've seen 4 pit maneuvers that have failed to stop him. And here are those
10
pit maneuvers
97
again if you
southbound
want to take another
405
look.
south of Seal Beach Boulevard.
Really incredible.
And you would think that one alone would do it, and then no.
South Richmond students, just be advised, suspect
Stone.
vehicle now southbound 405, now south of Palo Verde, just be
And
advised.
still that wasn't
Suspect
enough.
vehicle may take the northbound
But it wasn't enough
605,
to
units
completely
maroon
rip
Honda
off
Civic.
the bumper.
4 William
The
David
fourth
Victor
time, yeah.
696,
It's
southbound
the
405, now
damage
south of Palo Verde.
And
In
you
the
have
number
to think
2
about
lane,
all
approach
of
the
these
605.
pieces falling off this car. This is all evidence that somebody has to go back and find.
Yeah.
Somebody has to go pick up
Right.
Yeah.
across this, however many miles that they have been following.
This is the one they
person.
thought they were going to have. They get out of the vehicle, let's make an arrest, but
Looks intense.
yeah, and
Pilot
really,
224 setting up at
Yeah, it just takes
22
off
and
again.
Hester.
Dragging that bumper.
and this is number 4.
3 is
And usually you
at
see
Seal
the
Beach
wheels
Boulevard
on these
in the
cars
center
start to
divide.
wobble after a couple of these because they're not meant to go sideways like that, and the alignment gets knocked off. But this car has held up fairly well.
And there he is driving in the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's what makes him so dangerous. He's on the freeway right now, and as you
Southbound
said,
405
Kenny, he's
south
not
of Golden
really
West.
a threat. He's driving at a reasonable speed.
5
And I think that's why they're
605.
satisfied with the
Or-
situation the way it is
Yeah,
right now.
south
They're
of
going to let
605,
this play
number 2
out.
at 50 with light traffic.
But we know that he drives in the wrong direction. We know that he has
South 405
Yeah,
south of the
certainly
605,
has the
number 2
potential
at
to be
50
very,
miles
very
per hour light
dangerous.
traffic. And 55
looks like we
S3,
have Seal
S11,
Beach now.
and 86 S11 and 86 S6. They're setting up at the 405 in the river with the spike strip.
50 to 60
Yeah.
miles per hour, so it's not a high-speed chase at this point.
There's S3 standing by Golden West.
And if you're looking for a locator, that's the 605 freeway they are passing under right now on the 405 South. So, yeah, making his way into Seal Beach. Soon he'll be in Orange County.
Yeah.
And the CHP maintaining a reasonably safe distance as this
Suit
continues.
ID.
Certainly, and we're all just watching along with you, the viewer. What is going to
Not
happen
in
next?
pursuit
Is
yet.
this
I
person
don't
going
have
to
a
stay
visual.
on the 405?
Be
Are they
negative
gonna
as
get
of
off
yet.
at some
No
point and
visual.
Start going on surface streets again. you know, what will happen? We have no idea. And I think that's the scariest
We're
part
at
about
number 2 at 50. It's going to be the red sedan with the blown out back
so
window.
many other people around too, because obviously when you have, you know, choppers ahead,
40, I copy. You're in position. It's pulling to your left now.
Everyone's slowing down. It's impacting everybody else greatly, and they don't know what's going on.
I copy that.
because you're just driving on the highway, you've got your music up, and all of a sudden,
No, yes,
they're
I'm gonna
chase
switch
right
over
behind
to,
you, and as soon as these cars here, they don't. They're
7S3, switching to the right.
cities over an hour ago.
Well, let's just hope everybody stays out of the way, because we've seen those situations where people, you know, try and help out authorities. And we don't want to do that. It's not worth it. It's dangerous. We don't know what this person's capable of. I mean, we've seen him hit a pedestrian. We don't know if he's armed. So there's so many different factors that authorities have to consider as they
120, copy. I relieve this primary and dropping out. We're going to clear the frequency at this time. KMA 801 is clear at 12:30.
Now, it's interesting to see some of those officers that were over the bridge just now as well. So
Yeah,
they
looks
must
like
be setting up.
They have units coming onto the highway. They've got units stationed on the overpasses as they're passing through. So certainly they have people up ahead waiting to see if this driver will get off at an
45
exit.
north of the
They're
22,
right
number
there
2 lane
waiting
50
for
light
him,
traffic.
whatever exit he chooses, or until he
850,
runs out of
10 for
gas on
south on
405.
405 north of the
They basically
22,
have to plan for him getting
number
off
2
of
lane
any
light
exit,
traffic.
which is, you know, an incredibly difficult situation for authorities to be in.
Right, and I'm still amazed that he can see through that windshield.
And the purple was rise as well. We're south 405 north of the 22, number 2 lane 50 light
Bad
traffic.
enough when it's raining or it's foggy, you know, and the windshields are dirty, but when it's cracked and shattered like that, I can imagine what the visibility is like. And maybe that's impacting the speed, too, and just getting it on moderate side.
If you're wondering, it is a Honda Civic that they're pursuing. Don't know the year, but it has certainly shown its mettle in this chase. Involving 4 pit maneuvers, the bumper's been ripped off, the windshields front and rear are damaged, but the car itself appears to be in fairly good operating order and does not appear to be slowing down at all.
Not at all. And we just got word that the Orange County CHP division is now taking over. So this chase is
850, 10 for south on 405 at the 22 split, number 2 lane, 50 miles per hour light traffic.
Well, Culver
And
City,
4 to King 6
then
confirming you're taking
Englewood
primary.
PD, then LAPD, then CHP.
10 for, I
so,
copy, you're taking primary.
And then Orange County CHP.
So I guess that's 5.
Yeah.
Second.
And, you know, as he travels through each jurisdiction, that's just what's
Erwin,
going to have to
Erwin, here
happen
onto the
because
west
they are the ones who are familiar with the area. They know exactly where this driver could end up. And, of course, other streets, but just driving on the 405 South, and they don't know what's coming.
No.
But traffic does appear to be fairly light, and that's the one positive thing we can say about this pursuit so far. There are not a lot of people on the roads, maybe because of the holiday, maybe just because of the time. It's 12:30 in the afternoon.
I mean, thankfully he's not
Yeah,
in the middle of LA
97,
because
can you
obviously
inquire
we
with
know
us
that
3 if
traffic,
you'd like
even
me
in
to
LA
stay in
at
or
lunchtime can
bow
be pretty
out
intense.
at 44 and 40
He's on the
and second and
freeway
third.
driving at a steady
5520, I copy, you're
And it looks like we
1097.
have Bruce Thomas
55
now,
S2
who
Santa Ana.
is an expert at this. He is retired, a law enforcement. And Bruce, joining us on the phone now. How are you doing, Bruce? Can you hear us?
Happy New Year to you guys.
Yes,
yeah,
happy
we start
New
off
Hi,
with
Bruce. So, Bruce, what do you make of this? I mean, what can authorities do at this point? They've tried 4 pit maneuvers, and none of them have slowed this guy down. What's next?
Well, you know, you've seen the pit maneuvers, and they've tried that. That obviously didn't work. So it looks like now they're just going to have to follow this
South
guy.
on 405
do
north
the
of Westminster, light
changes that
traffic,
they're
number
doing
2 at
with
50 miles per hour.
CHP,
5520, you're
vehicles,
dropping.
Kind of jump ahead and then join the pursuit. Others drop off. At this point, they're going to end up following them unless they can put more spike strips out.
Possible 10, it's a 1051, 20,001, and parties possible 5150.
I'm sure it is more difficult to do it on a highway. We haven't seen any spike strip attempts, so is that possibly
South of
why?
Westminster, number 3 lane,
At this
50 is light traffic.
point, you wouldn't see them where they were trying the pit maneuvers, but freeway traffic is light, so I would suspect that maybe CHP might try
Check the
that.
area. Southbound 605 at the
Because
210.
the traffic is light,
3
there's no
vehicles
one
blocking
around
a slow
him.
lane. No
They
further.
know where he's going, sort of, meaning going southbound.
Right.
So I think they would try the maybe spike strips.
And talk about the logistics of that. It's complicated getting set up right to do something like this.
50
sorry, I
miles
missed
per hour
the-
light
The
traffic, and I copy
logistics
West
of laying
Santa
down
Ana
that spike strip,
1023
you
on
have
the
to worry
river.
about getting other people out of the way. It's not so, it's complicated.
Yeah, it is. You have to know where the person is
5 degrees south 710, just north of Wardlow. One call of a cabin in the roadway.
Other people from getting involved. And also the safety of the officers who actually throw out the tack strip or the spike strip.
Yeah, and earlier we saw this car hit a pedestrian, hit a scooter rider, and so there must be that fear that if they are in the roadway getting ready to throw out that spike strip, that could possibly happen to the officer as well.
Oh, definitely, and the officers do it using the car for cover, or maybe a building.
Pursuit now southbound 405 north of Golden West, number 2, at 50 light traffic.
You just can't stand in the middle of the street and do it, especially if this guy's shown a penchant for attempting to run somebody over, like he did on a scooter, and his wanton disregard for the safety of the officers when they did the pit maneuver.
55S3,
And Bruce, how does that
1097.
ratchet things up for the
Southbound
officers
405
when they know they're dealing with somebody who just hits a pedestrian and keeps going, somebody who's been through 4 pit maneuvers and keeps going? I imagine the adrenaline's got to be pumping pretty good at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, your adrenaline's going on a scale 1 to 10 instead of 12 anyway. Right. And that's why they have the helicopter up ahead, as you see. They're calling the pursuit to take some of the stress and pressure off the officers. But your stress level is definitely very high.
South 405 north of beach,
Bruce,
number 2, light traffic.
That the scooter rider has non-life-threatening
103
injuries.
Temper.
An update for
2 vehicle 2002 and train route to check the area. Southbound 605
and amazing to hear, considering the impact.
And he didn't have a helmet on. So
didn't have a helmet on, got run over both sets of tires.
his head on the windshield.
A very, very lucky person.
120, it's unclear. It says they brake on side. I'm not sure if that means on the side of the road or on its side, but we only have the one call.
Where they've actually rammed the vehicle
That was my second
on a
question.
very hard way.
10 for,
instead of
I'll
just trying to
try
spin them out to show that we're not
I'll
playing
try and
games.
recall,
We're going to jail,
fire
and we're going to do what we have to do to take you to jail.
Now, at what point do, does the CHP say enough is enough? We are going to do whatever it takes to stop you? Because at this point, it looks like they're kind of trailing
50 miles per
from
hour
quite
light
a
traffic.
distance away.
Yeah, at some point the watch commander is going to get involved and say, okay, enough's enough. At this point, he's going through the 4 jurisdictions now. Is he going to the border? It's hard to say. At that point, they may authorize deadly force at the border to stop
Porsche
it.
SUV and a red vehicle blocking the slow lane.
Very, very possible as we see him just continue on the 405 south with no plans to slow down or get off.
And just to update you, he's now traveling through Huntington Beach, so
3 Tempo, let's
in
start 2
Orange
flatbed.
County and
And is it on the main
south.
portion or actually on
Bruce,
the on-ramp?
the spike strips, how many lanes can they cover? Because he's on a pretty big freeway here. You can't cover the whole 405 south, can you?
No, most spike strips, you're looking between 8
which
and 10
on-ramp was
feet
that?
maximum. They have different kinds. They have tack strips, which may be about 9 feet. Some maybe 10, but it's something he'll definitely try to avoid, as he's already done that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Long
suffice it
Beach
to
Fire
say,
is
it's
97.
harder
It's
to
a
do a spike
non-injury
strip on a
CHP.
freeway
They
than a
advise
surface
it's on
street.
ocean.
Yes,
At
very,
Tier
very
2,
much
CHP is
At
not
the
needed.
end of these pursuits, what is typically the mentality of these folks? Is it pretty common and typical to see that they're under the influence, or how are they able to continue on and have such a
3
disregard for the
Santa Ana,
law?
the Santa Ana units are going to
what's more
1020 to the
amazing,
spike
and I'll
due
address
to
that
the
in a second,
construction
is
in the
the
area.
durability of these vehicles we see in the pursuits. I mean, I get a flat tire. These vehicles, they get a flat tire. They don't know it's going to mile.
Right.
But the mindset of these people is
10 and 10 off the Blackboard 4 on the right shoulder.
Go to jail, and it could be for a minor traffic infraction.
120
In this
copies
case,
enough.
not so, but it could be for they don't have a driver's license or a suspended license.
3, I'm sorry, that
or they
was
have some
10-1.
small traffic warrants.
So one bad decision piles on to another, and then in this case you hit a pedestrian, and now you're looking at serious
That's
problems
affirmed.
down
A
the road. And so
supervisor
maybe
is
the
in
desperation
position
level just
for Santa Ana.
accelerates as this goes
Yes,
on.
very, very much. You've seen a small anthill become now a mountain.
To a
And obviously some may be wanted for more egregious felonies, but in this case, it could be just they have some warrants.
And it's so amazing to me that this guy's front windshield is totally busted up. So how he can even continue to drive and safely with that
397, bus
is
number
really
2 and
incredible.
on-ramp.
And he's
And I've got
maintained
priority
his lane.
1
It's not
in
like
route
he's
with 1
swerving or anything like
flatbed,
that.
and I'm working on the
So
second.
he's got a clear spot somewhere on that windshield where he's able to look out. yeah, it is impressive. And as Bruce said, what's impressive is the vehicle's able to function still.
We're trying to get a spike Euclid on southbound 405.
And Bruce, I have a question for you. This is Kimmy.
The South 405, we're currently South 405, South of Brookers, number 2,
it could be that they would do something a little bit more serious.
They're trying to get a spike in Euclid on to the southbound 405.
Well, you know, you have
and you're southbound South Brookers, number 2, 50 miles per hour.
Shotguns, 9mm Arwen type rounds. But you know, he is crossing a border. It is a defended border to some degree with inspections and people coming back and forth. You know, he is an assault with a deadly weapon suspect, so does the border officials deem him to be a threat? Not maybe necessarily on our side of the border, but maybe on the Mexican side.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Mexican authorities may treat this much differently than our authorities in terms of how to deal with this person. And that would be the law enforcement agency he'd probably deal with, right? If he's heading south, he's going to. We don't really have any kind of enforcement on the south side, do we? Going into the, we never used to. I remember.
You bring up a great point. We do have relationships with Mexico and with Canada. Law enforcement.
Tempo, we'll leave priority rolling for the one flatbed, and then we'll do AAA flatbed for the Gold Porsche.
And they've done it in the past. Mexican officials have confiscated cars, guns, badges, and the officers, and then now the government has to intervene to try to get them back.
Okay, suffice it to say they don't want it to get to the border, I guess.
Yeah, that just creates a whole other set of circumstances.
Right.
It'll be, an entirely different can of worms that probably will have to open. And let's not forget, when you get to the border, it's not
you're 10.2 on the follow-up for now, and so you're around town on to the westbound.
Yeah, you could just be sitting in traffic, and it could end there.
And it looks like they've stopped letting people onto the 405
It's for the white for the
traffic
south.
is backed up. And the CHP
Party is Carl Flores, and
is
he's an Army vet and suffers from
on-ramps
PTSD,
from continuing until this car passes by. So
and is on
that's why we
felony
have such,
probation for
all five. How many lanes are there? All of the lanes are clear here.
North of Harbor, number 2 at 50, light traffic advised, and the units are primary and secondary.
It looks like the roadway's clear.
8645,
not clear enough.
H5010 for southbound 405 north of Harbor. Which unit is primary and which is secondary?
Bruce, is there ever an attempt to try and communicate with a driver like this, with a bullhorn or a loudspeaker or something?
Unfortunately,
86405 is secondary. The K9, if they want him to go out.
Because when you ride code 3 with lights and sirens, people don't hear the siren, they see the light. So it's almost impossible.
10-4 sufficient units. The K9 can fall to the rear.
Would it be out of the question that maybe authorities are contacting family members of this person if they're able to track through the license number?
86405, take it primary.
Have them reason with the driver? Is that ever done?
Oh, definitely.
We're going to switch to the purple left call. We're South 405 north of Fairview, number 2 at 50, light traffic.
Some reverse directories, you can call them.
850, I copy. You're going to the purple at southbound 405 north of Fairview, number 2 at 50 miles per hour, and 86405 is primary.
It does take time, but it's definitely a possibility.
And Bruce, have you ever seen, and I don't know if they do this, have you ever seen a pit maneuver on the freeway?
I can show you something that's rubber 5.
He has done it at lower speed. At this point, you got to remember, you got a 5,000-pound vehicle that becomes an uncontrolled missile. He's going to go into the center divider, maybe, damage it. Now you're going to lose those lanes of the freeway.
55S310 you dropped at Fairview, 5540.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't want him crashing through the barrier into oncoming traffic, too.
Oh,
just north of Euclid, 5544.
Right. Bruce, I know there's been talk about new technologies to stop these things, some kind of like a dart you could shoot at the car
north of Euclid as well. All Westminster units are out, WPPC 737-1243.
Is there any progress on those things?
The progress is slow because you have different
103, I was thinking the same. I just needed somebody to check on the 605. Thank you. Show you en route. Southbound Irwindale onto the westbound 210.
With some of the older vehicles which don't have the new technology in them, we're not sure how it affects that, but they are making progress.
310 you dropped just north of Harbor. And 55S310 I copy to the printer. 11355 Santa Ana.
To give law enforcement code where they could disable the car.
Right. They'll just give you the code and you'll punch it in and you'll send it through the internet and turn your car off.
Yeah, like OnStar, Lexus Assist, Mercedes Assist, those type of things.
Okay. And it looks like we're passing South Coast Plaza now. So this started in Culver City, almost coming up on 2 hours ago. We've got about 15 minutes until the 2
available units. If they can hold
traffic relatively light, so that's good news. There aren't a lot of people in harm's way, and that's important because we've seen this driver has no regard for life. He hit somebody.
For any Santa Ana units that can hold the on-ramps onto the southbound 405 up ahead prior to the pursuit going by. Any Santa Ana units that can hold the on-ramps advice.
That's why they're being very, very cautious, maintaining a relatively safe distance as this pursuit continues south. On the 405, you can see other vehicles on the roadway too. So
405 south
there is
of
a
the
danger
55
of
and light
other people
traffic,
getting in
number
harm's
3.
way, but so far not a lot of traffic, and that's good news.
And coming up here on the 55 freeway, Bruce, you know, for those who are just joining us, at what point will they say enough is enough?
For an H50, if you can advise the Santa Ana radio, Capistrano is requesting that they have a sergeant stay in. I only have OIC and Kappa.
Inconvenience to the general public when this thing finally ends. And also, you have
number 3 lane at 50
the
with
amount
light
of
traffic.
paperwork
If we
for
go into
doing an
Capo, have an S
intervention like
unit,
this.
remain
You're going to
97.
lose
Capo is
officers
set up
off
at
the
Lake
street while they conduct their investigations. But at some point, you've got to say enough is enough. And I think we've seen law enforcement get to that point almost.
And Bruce, who makes that call? Is it the sergeant on scene? Is it the watch commander? Who does that?
Well, ultimately, different departments, different bank structure. For my department, we had a sergeant involved in the pursuit based on the number of vehicles and occupants.
Seven, are you going to try and get in as well, or is Kappa going to stay with 3 units?
Watch commander who's monitoring the radio traffic. And there's certain things that the officers have to give information-wise to the watch commander. Direction of
You're
travel,
to the 133
speed,
area.
what the vehicle's wanted for, number of occupants, that kind of information. And if you don't provide that information, the pursuit can be canceled.
Number 3 lane light
and
traffic.
just to note here, we just passed the John Wayne Airport heading into Irvine now. So continuing along the 405 south.
Yeah, and he's been heading south for a while, so maybe we're getting some sense of where this person is trying to go. No guarantees, but we've been on the 405 south for a while now, and it looks like he's maintaining that direction at a steady pace.
Yeah, and what about having choppers near an airport? How does that impact things?
Copy the call to your
MDC. For the police, it does, because they have restricted flight plans and operations. So the helicopter can't go over the runways or the arrival or departure areas. So they have to skirt that. So in this case, I don't think it's an issue because he's not by the airport per se, but does affect surveillance.
5544 Santa Ana. I'm going to send an 1125 to your
LAX, and we had to get clearance to fly our chopper through. So yeah, there's some coordination there with air traffic controllers that has to take place as well. So many different agencies have to work together when somebody goes on a
run. Down a little bit.
Yeah, it does look like he's losing some speed.
Yeah, looks
like. Now it looks like he might be picking up a little.
Yeah. 50s, 60s.
So maybe he's looking for a place to get off or contemplating a situation.
And as we've seen all along the 405, there have been CHP officers
San Gabriel Valley Towing on a hot call.
So a tremendous amount of resources being deployed to keep a handle on this guy. If he gets off at an exit, they'll have an officer there. And so, yeah, a lot of officers involved, a lot of time and energy being spent to try and corral this person.
And a lot of money. I wonder how much it costs each time they have to do something like this with all these resources. It's got to be extremely
Well, and I don't know if it's in the law yet, but I know when you have a DUI crash that involves a drunk driver, the officers actually submit a cost sheet. They break down the amount of the investigative time, the report writing time, the amount to book the suspect, and that's submitted to the court, and ultimately restitution is made.
230, 10 far right shoulder now, westbound 10 west of Indian Hill. Big rig and a Toyota Camry. We'll get B-Watch rolling as soon as they're 10-8.
The agencies could be, well, the public could be eating the cost.
So let's update you again. We've been through this a few times. This chase now going on for over an hour. Started in Culver City. Authorities trying to stop the vehicle. It was a suspected stolen car. Suspect refused to stop. Continued into Inglewood.
It is the OIC for Capo. They were requesting a Santa Ana
scooter rider.
Santa Ana sergeant to stay in the pursuit because it's only OIC and they're standing by.
It is. It's tough. The good news is that scooter rider's okay. We've been updated on his condition. No serious injuries, despite that really hard-looking impact. And so that's some good news. But it shows you this person's dangerous, and they're not interested in stopping. 4 different pit maneuvers have been tried. None of them have been successful. We'll show them to you as well. All of them executed, I would say, as well as you can expect them to be done. This driver is just persistent in his desire to get away. And
Bruce, talk to us about how difficult it is to get these pit maneuvers done correctly.
Well, it's very difficult. You have to go through training. Not only unlike CHP, don't have a special bumper on the car. So you're actually using your car to hit the rear quarter panel area of the vehicle and spin it out of control. So you have to press the gas pedal, spin it, stay on the gas pedal to make the vehicle spin, and then hit the brake. So it does take a lot of practice.
How do you practice something like this, Bruce? Do you have some beat-up old police cars you practice on?
No, what they have is their emergency vehicle operations for the sheriffs and for CHP and for LAPD. They have vehicles specially designed to absorb the impact, and they have bumper guards around the back and around the front, and they practice spinning out. Most of the speeds you practice it are lower level, though, of course.
Right, right.
And we've been talking about the damage that this car
1207, you can 1022, 207.
When you get hit by a car, that is painful. That hurts, that impact will really get you. And that's
neck injuries, back injuries, and 4 of these, yeah, you're right.
The officers who are, executing these pit maneuvers, I mean, what sort of impact does it have on them as well? Like physically, they must be trained to somehow absorb that impact a different way.
That's a great point that we seem to have missed. Whenever you hit vehicles, there is some trauma to the body, mostly soft tissue damage. So when a police officer is ramming a vehicle like that, they could be injuring themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's no
Canyon number 3 at 50 light traffic.
So an update now. We are in Irvine on the 405 South. About an hour and 50 minutes into this chase, would you say, John?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And it appears that traffic is light, but it also appears
and again,
that they're not letting
to
people
Santa Ana, it's a 10851 with a 20,001, possible 5150.
So that could be a reason why all of these lanes are clear and
3 at 50 miles
CHP
per hour
making sure
light traffic.
Everyone is safe right now in this area.
Through Irvine, and then eventually through Laguna, then San Clemente, and then you get into Camp Pendleton. And Bruce, is Pendleton the place to stop all this because you've got more control over the area?
It might be an area. However, you got to remember the freeway's public.
57 Santa Ana, I need to assign you to a log. You can check your MDC.
That could be an authorization for the use of deadly force by the military.
Yeah.
Well, that's something to watch as well, I guess.
And we've talked about this, Bruce, before about less than lethal force
freeway,
can also
also
be
onto
deadly.
the southbound 5 in the
If
center
they
divide
decide to use beanbags
area.
or rubber bullets, that could still, especially if you're driving, that could still kill you.
Right. It's meant to hurt, but if maybe you hit somebody in the face with it, or they have a bad heart to begin with, they could have a heart attack. So yeah.
And I
and that's why they call them
responding
less
for him as
lethal,
well.
because they can be lethal, unfortunately.
Right.
So what do you think the CHP, the sergeant or the watch commander, what are they talking about and what is going through their minds right now?
They're mostly listening to the officers talk on the radio when they do broadcast. Are the officers calm? Are they in control themselves? If they're excited, I'm probably going to swap you out and get somebody else in there. The other two, by having the helicopter call the pursuit, meaning the direction of travel, the speed, what lane he's in, possible cross traffic, that takes a lot of the stress and the pressure off the officers. So all they have to do is basically just drive, follow the suspect vehicle. And as you see in the shot, there's multiple vehicles, so the front vehicle is not calling the pursuit.
86-405.
It's the second vehicle.
Southbound 405 passing ICD.
And Bruce, when a chase goes on like this for this length of time, do the officers kind of settle in? I imagine they would calm down a little bit.
If
Yeah,
you're in the purple we're overhead, we'll call the precision from South 5, stop from the 405, number 2 of the trans at 50 like that.
And they're planning for when this thing finally ends at the
I
terminus,
got the traffic brake
what
started.
are they going to do?
86 410 you got the traffic brake started. Southbound 405. Are you approaching the 5 now?
You know, I think what's so eerie about this chase is
1602 B-Watch has an alternate. Reports of pedestrian westbound 60 west of Reservoir. White male of those early 20s, last seen wearing blue jeans, blue shirt, stumbling on the right shoulder.
There was no sense of delay or attempt to turn, no sense of stopping to see the person was doing. Just plowed through that person and kept going.
And that was that. And hit a person.
And that's really troubling when you think about it.
Okay, now we've got more cars also on the road.
Yeah,
here.
we've got a freeway merge, and I'm not sure which one it is going on here. We're going through
like
Irvine.
South.
Is this the 405 and the 5 coming together here?
Number 5 at 50 with light traffic.
Lake Forest, okay.
This is 5 South.
So
the
definitely.
other thing too, during the attempted pit maneuvers, he showed a total wanton disregard to
5
stop.
at 50?
Right.
I mean, he wanted to get away. So there's something else going on.
A minor in a wheelchair.
Yeah, there's a certain level of desperation that has to make authorities a little nervous, I would think, but certainly very cautious, and they're showing that caution.
Yeah, and the information you get is...
That's reason for responding to a citizen report of a minor in a wheelchair blocking
Yes, we know he had a pedestrian, and that person flew up on the hood of the car. So you have an elevated crime, but what else is inside that vehicle that we don't know about?
Right.
57 from Sunset,
if it's a stolen
crossing
vehicle,
the white Honda Civic plate of 8 Frank Paul Mary 791, unable to maintain lanes with a X-ray driver.
Yeah, you know, earlier...
23152, southbound 57 from Sunset, crossing white Honda Civic plate of 8 Frank Paul Mary 791, unable to maintain lanes.
Yeah, that was the initial call.
X-ray driver.
The rear window
Last
had
seen one of
damage
those,
to
nothing
it, or
further,
was cracked, or had a hole
at
in it,
1256.
and authorities thought it might be a stolen vehicle, but that was the initial call, that there was already existing damage to the vehicle, and that's why they wanted to stop it. And of course, now we've got a lot more damage to the front windshield. The back bumper's gone. We think the wheels are a little out of alignment, but still, this vehicle is moving along at a relatively good pace, despite everything it's been through.
And now
the other thing too, when you do a pit maneuver after you hit the vehicle, it's kind of counterintuitive to take your vehicle and ram the vehicle in front of you.
Right, right. And Bruce, here's a dumb question of the day.
For a 20-foot box truck and a silver Toyota,
in front of this guy
third
and try and
vehicle
block him and slow him down?
appear to have left.
You know, it's about safety, officer safety, the suspect's safety. Because if they do that and the guy has a weapon, they may start to fire at the officer, putting that officer in danger. Not that this is not dangerous as it is, but it's just something that
year-old white male, blonde hair, gray sweatshirt,
it's not a dumb question,
black
shorts,
gray shirt, gray shoes.
Looks like maybe he's
it looks like he's supposed to
He's in the second lane now.
You wish you could get in their head.
Yeah.
You know, all right, buddy, there's nowhere to go.
Right.
You got cops all around you. This is not going to end well. Just pull over. But, you know, the panic, you know, you get like a scared animal, I think, some of these people, and they just don't think rationally at some point.
Exactly. It's a fight or flight type mentality. And in this case, it's a flight. But, you know, going back to your point, if the authorities had a Bearcat or some sort of armed vehicle, they could get this guy quick and then slow it down, that vehicle could absorb some of the crash.
8693, transport route to 1125 bumper, eastbound 91 trans to the northbound
But the
57.
Bearcat is just, there aren't that many of them around to be driving around to get themselves in position to do something like that, I guess is the problem.
Yeah, you're not going to drive 60, 70 miles an hour and do that.
Right.
So now we're in Laguna Hills. As we've been watching, CHP has been stopping people from getting onto the I-5 South. Now, we were on the 405 South for quite a while. We're on the I-5 South now. And so they've been blocking traffic, keeping the lanes clear as this driver continues south.
And just an update for you, we no longer believe this is a stolen vehicle. So authorities know who's driving it, or have a pretty good idea. And that is some aid to them, I would think. It gives them a sense of who they're dealing with and a better understanding of why this person may be taking the actions that they're taking. So, yeah, the initial report was a possible stolen vehicle. Now, updating you, they do not believe it's a stolen vehicle, that this may be the owner or somebody who's related to the owner in this vehicle, involved in this chase, facing some very serious charges, a hit and run involving a pedestrian. And thankfully, that pedestrian's going to be okay. And, of course, numerous traffic safety violations.
And Joe, can you remind us what type of car this is as well?
We think it's a Honda Civic, a four-door Honda Civic. I don't know the year, but if you're a Honda dealer, this is great advertising because this thing is built like a tank and just won't quit after everything it's been through. You can see it seems to be moving along just fine, despite 4 pit maneuvers.
Right.
And being involved in a collision with a pedestrian, and the windshield's obviously shattered.
Completely smashed. I really don't know how he sees out of
Vanette
that. Maybe
La Paz,
that's also why
113.31,
he's
you're
keeping
dropping?
his speed pretty mellow.
Every time we've pushed in to see him, he appears quite calm.
Yeah,
very
and does
calm.
not appear to be having any difficulty operating the vehicle. So I'm guessing he's got a corner of that windshield where he can see out of.
And Bruce, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you ever see people like, after this, once they're caught, because obviously our levels of excitement get pretty high, but
Southbound Northwest, number 2 lane, 50 miles per hour, light traffic.
Chases?
A high percentage are. They're usually under the influence of drugs and or alcohol, so they're kind of mellow almost. You do have a percentage that does not fight, but ultimately when the pursuit ends and the officers have their guns drawn and they're giving commands, they mostly come out and just put their hands up and surrender.
How long have you seen chases go on for? Because this feels exceptionally long. We are at the 2-hour mark now. Have you seen a chase this long before?
5 south of Oso, number 2 lane, 50 miles per hour. Oceanside is 1023 at Basilone. 113.55, you copy?
To have a pursuit go on this long is just extraordinary. I know I've commented on ones that have gone late into the night and gone to the Inland Empire all the way to the ocean, but this is
31603 Mary, that's affirmed. Multiple calls on that pit. Westbound 60 at Reservoir.
A
Couple coming in from westbound 60 near
Started with Culver
71.
City PD, and then Inglewood PD, and LAPD. CHP currently the agency handling it. Now Orange County's CHP office
negative visual
handling
so far at Reservoir.
it as he's maintained his travel on the freeways, and they'll hold on to it as long as he's on the freeways.
Yeah, and Bruce, let's go back to the fact that we're getting kind of close to the border now, and that will certainly change the tone of this chase. It's already very serious, but it could turn deadly if border officers decide that, they're going to handle it a different way.
Yeah, CHP has already made notification to the border officials down there, to the San Diego County CHP that are coming your way, and they're letting them know as we get closer, some action's going to have to be taken.
So, Bruce, they're calling ahead to every agency, Oceanside, San Diego. Everybody's being notified right now. Is that how it would work?
Yeah, through mutual aid, they're letting everybody know we're coming into your jurisdiction. Obviously, CHP is letting their offices know, so for handoffs, so they can give it to the local CHP office, but also to let the local PDs know that, hey, if this guy sets off the freeway, you may need some help with a containment, if you please, or other issues like that.
How many officers can you pull from what they're already doing, which is trying to maintain peace and order, and put them on a chase that's just going to be
651 temporary Imperial Lakewood at the mobile station. I copy the member number. We'll start AAA for Black Honda.
It depends on the police department. If you look at a department like Oceanside, they probably may only have 10 officers working in patrol. So, they're going to use all 10 broadly. Now that impacts the citizens in that area. They're not getting the service.
Right. And they're going to be standing by on these off-ramps, like we've been seeing with the CHP, I imagine, just waiting and watching this guy.
Yeah, they are going to definitely be doing that.
It'd be interesting to know just how much gas, too, he has in his car. Because, you would think he would run out at some point, but obviously you can do the Culver City down to San Diego, all the way down to the border on a tank of gas.
Yeah, with a car like this, that shouldn't be a problem. He can probably go 350 miles.
If he had a full tank of gas.
If he had a full tank of
miles
gas.
per hour light traffic.
Yeah, and I think he said it's a Toyota Camry, so it does have some decent fuel economy.
Right. So here's the first pit maneuver. He seemed to get through that just fine.
And you can see the rear window there with...
It's still in place. Here's number 2.
And that was the damage there that had initially alerted officers.
203 San Gabriel Valley.
But then, of course, it gets blown out.
Hey, 760 Center here for the Red Chevy Impala, which is the other vehicle.
ended up being a AAA through,
here's where the damage happened.
through the party. We called them before,
Police get out of their vehicles. This is where they think they're going to
We're
end
going
this
to have
thing.
another AAA en route
And
for
here it
the
is.
full force.
Bumpers hanging off, rear windows shattered now.
1203,
And here's
I
number
will
4
double
with that
check.
bumper dragging.
There was only one request
And
sent
again, it
to
looked like the
AAA.
car suffered some damage there as it skid out.
But I will make sure that they have another.
So they're at the front.
Taking off in the wrong direction. So
He's
he's shown
on
himself to
the
be dangerous,
Porsche.
and I think it's, Bruce, it's safe to say that's why they're
Anyone feel
maintaining
free
their
to confirm?
distance, as long as he doesn't do anything really
Put
crazy.
priority one back on top, please.
Yeah, at this point,
Friday
they're
one
just going to
back
wait them out. But if you go back to the footage and the pit maneuvers, when there was a little bit of the window shattered, this vehicle may have been wanted for a possible shooting.
Yeah, it's certainly something to consider. We don't have information on that, but yeah, that's a possibility that we'll have to think about, I guess.
You know, at least in my mind, if I saw that, I'd be thinking this vehicle may have just been involved in a car-to-car shooting of some sort. So
21601 1182, I'll show you en route to 603 Mary. Anyone 603 Mary, can you go with your correct
We're now moving
1020?
through San Clemente, so getting very close to Camp Pendleton now.
Party's name is Captain.
Yeah, and does that change?
Blue collared
as
shirt.
we've been talking about, does that change?
Well, Bruce made it clear if he gets off in Camp Pendleton on surface streets, it could change quite
He's
drastically
walking
for
down
him.
the embankment now.
Yeah, because the military police at the checkpoints,
603 Mary, blue collar shirt,
and I'm
routine,
not sure
party
about
name is
federal
Kevin,
law,
advised.
but I think if you try to
Stay
ram
off
one
the
of those
freeway.
checkpoints,
And
I
that
think deadly force is
1020 was
authorized.
eastbound 60, correction, westbound 60 at the
Hey,
71.
Bruce, I'm curious about this. You mentioned something about, it looked like there could be, it could have been shot at or something. Now, if you see a vehicle like that, if an officer sees a vehicle with that rear windshield with a hole in it that could have been from a gunshot, what is the procedure from that point? Like, what do you guys, what happens?
Well, you're definitely going to get on the radio, let the other units know that you have a vehicle that may have been involved in a shooting.
Okay.
It's got a busted out or broken out window, in this case, a little area of it. And you're going to get on the radio, run the license plate, try to get some information, ask for additional units, code 3, with lights and sirens to your location, and ultimately you want to conduct a felony traffic stop.
Okay, I think we've lost sight of our suspect vehicle. Is that it there?
It's yeah.
Okay.
I thought for a
5
minute.
south
still
of
in
Ortega,
pursuit.
number
Yeah, we
2
lost
at
him
50
just for a
miles
few
per hour
minutes.
light
San Juan
traffic.
Capistrano.
Yeah, those trees.
And this is the 5 South heading toward Camp Pendleton now, and pretty much status quo for the last 45 minutes or so. This driver got on the 405 South and has maintained a steady speed, staying in lanes, not driving in an erratic fashion. Ever since the incident involving the pedestrian, we've not seen any real radical driving techniques, just a pretty steady pace. And that's why authorities are kind of giving him his space and hoping this just kind of plays out peacefully.
Because a lot of these situations, we see the driver ends up getting arrested for DUI or they're under the influence of something. But just by the way that this person is driving so steady, so calm, it's almost hard to believe that they are under the influence.
Right. We haven't seen any swerving or fast, slow kind of motions. And keep in mind, the
Number
windshield
3,
shattered,
50
so
miles
this
per hour
driver was
light
able to
traffic.
see out of a corner of it anyway. And seems to be maintaining the rules of the road right now, at least.
And yet,
Yeah, in this case, he is following the rules of the road. However, when you see the pursuits on city streets, they're actually recording the news footage. And they'll go back over and kind of look at all the additional charges and violations.
603 Mary,
So when
fire
they
is
present
a
this
landline.
to the district attorney, there's a whole laundry
Correction,
list of
requesting are they
Yeah,
needed?
and this driver has already compiled a pretty good list of violations. The biggest one, that hit and run involving the pedestrian,
I'll tell
a very
let's tell him
serious
that
charge,
sequence.
and I'm sure that's on his mind, I would think, as he continues to flee, and maybe that's the reason he's fleeing. We just don't know right now.
Assault with a deadly weapon, hit and run, evading police. The list goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and in their mindset, I hate to say it, but I don't think they even care about those things. They just want to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to relate because as viewers and as we're watching this.
The reason you're here, Veronica, is you
Right.
can't relate to this driver. Because you cannot relate to this thing.
none
No.
of us can yet.
Yeah. And we see it way too often with people out there, just irrational behavior and...
Is this guy on the phone? It almost
Downhill
looks like
number
he's
3
on the
lane,
phone
50
now.
miles
It
per hour
does
light
almost
traffic.
look that way, yeah, like his arm is up or
From
something.
this vantage point, possibly on the phone with... Could he be on the phone with law enforcement? Is that a possibility?
Oh, definitely. He could dial 911 and say, hey, look, I'm the vehicle that's being chased on the 405 freeway or the 5 freeway. I want to surrender, but I'm fearing for my safety. What should I do?
Team David 9, you're at Estrella with the spike.
He did reach his arm to his head, like perhaps he was holding a handset to his head, but now I don't see that kind of activity. He appears very calm.
Yeah. Kind of lean forward a little bit. We got a flash of his face there.
Yeah.
We sure did.
Yeah, so we believe he's a male. Tough to say much more than that. Looks like he had dark brown hair. But
wanted for a stolen vehicle, which is what we initially had thought. So.
Right. The initial call.
Yeah, it looks like the front passenger window is missing too. Or rolled down, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. And we don't know if that's related to the pit maneuvers or if he started out that way. We know there was some initial damage. They were investigating into the rear windshield. Bruce mentioned the possibility of maybe some gunshot holes. We don't know, but that's something that authorities would certainly want to investigate. And that was involved in the initial attempt to stop this driver. And that's when the pursuit started, too, and that was in Culver City.
Culver City, and now we're in Dana Point.
Wow.
That is a long distance.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Long way south, and you're taking a look now at the first of 4 pit maneuvers that LAPD officers conducted very successfully, but were not able to slow this driver down in any way, shape, or form, simply just damaging the car, but not enough to slow him down and get him off the roadway.
He has to go.
Zone 5 south of Estrella, stand by for the spike.
And there you can see something came off one of the rear wheels. I don't know if it was just a hubcap or something that may have affected the alignment, perhaps. We did see one of the wheels look like it was a little wobbly, but it has not stopped this vehicle. He's gone quite a good distance still.
You would think that one would have done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bruce,
yes.
These pit maneuvers is the
On
whole
the
point
spike.
to damage the
Southbound
alignment
north of
the
Vaquero,
wheels,
number
to
3 lane,
bust the
50 miles per
tires.
hour light traffic.
What kind of damage are you going for?
That's part of it. What you're trying to do is disable the axle area of the rear vehicle. In other words, cause the fenders to get stuck into the wheel wells to damage the axle so that the vehicle is not able to drive in that case. Because you're hitting it at the rear part of the car. Right. Even though we've seen some pursuits with some agencies where they've just smacked it right in the middle of the car, which definitely gets somebody's attention.
So in this case, it may just be blind luck that they didn't hit it exactly in the right spot.
Yeah, because you're looking for the rear quarter fender area, and ultimately that gets into the tire and into the rim of the car, and that disables it.
And does every officer,
Southbound north of Vistra,
everyone
number
is
3
trained to
lane,
do
light
this?
traffic. And Capistrano units, there are Oceanside units and a sergeant in position for this. I believe they're setting up at Basilone.
Not every vehicle is equipped with a spike strip or tack strip, but there are certain vehicles that are. But the training is catching up where most of the officers now are trained in some sort of pit maneuvers.
Now, you mentioned that these spike strips are only about 8 to 10 feet long. Is there ever an opportunity for them to put several of them out? For instance,
It's been done. It's just harder to do because on a freeway, there really is no covering for the officer to put it out. He is putting his whole life in danger while standing there throwing the
Right. So you don't want that officer getting hit, obviously, by this suspect.
So
yeah, I remember one instant I deployed one in Beverly Hills on a pursuit, and I was actually hiding in the bushes when I did it for my safety.
So I just pulled up a map here. So we're in San Clemente now. It's about an hour to the border. So they're still a ways away, but this chase has been going on for more than 2 hours. So that could be this driver's intention. Bruce, we talk about how most people will go into their neighborhood where they're familiar with the settings and the surroundings, but it doesn't appear that this guy is doing that at all. He's driving through so many areas, so possibly to the border.
Down south of Pico, number 3 lane, 50 miles per hour light traffic.
If he does cross the border and safely gets across, then the Mexican authorities take possession of him. Then the American authorities have to ask for him back. So it
S unit wants the K9s to stay in. Border King 6,
on our side of the border that he would face.
Wow.
And we just thinking about all of the drivers that have been impacted, that scooter rider that was hit by this driver. If we can bring that very disturbing video up that we caught at the beginning of this chase here. Luckily, that driver is going to be okay. Non-life-threatening injuries, according to the LA Fire Department, but the damage from the front of the car that you see here, that front windshield, is because this person hit that scooter rider.
It's incredible that scooter rider did not suffer serious injuries because the impact was pretty serious. It maybe like 30 miles an hour, and his head hit that windshield. The damage to that front windshield is from that pedestrian slamming into it. And as Veronica pointed out, the car then rolled over him.
Why do you have to go there?
And he is, the scooter rider, we're told, is okay. No serious injuries. Which is amazing, but obviously we don't want to see anybody else put in harm's way like that, and obviously the CHP does not either, and so they're maintaining a relatively safe distance, letting this play out, letting this driver continue to head south on the 5 now, heading into Camp Pendleton, I believe.
He'll be passing through Camp Pendleton to Oceanside.
Bartlett and Salinas here. He's going to make his way through a number of communities.
And you have that long stretch there in that general area as well, about a 17-mile stretch. It just seems like there's nothing there. You don't have exits, so people are also not getting onto the freeway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that long stretch.
Yeah, we were speculating that might be the place to end this, but Bruce wasn't so sure about that.
And is he getting off? He's getting close to...
He's now, traveling closer. You know, he seems to typically be a little
Bike is set up at
to the
scale.
center divider, or the center, but now he's inching his up.
And it's southbound out El Camino Real, number 3 lane, 50 miles per hour.
Should I get off?
Yeah, contemplating.
Maybe he's aware he's getting close to Pendleton, and he knows he's got few options once he gets on the base in terms of surface streets. He really runs out of options.
Yeah, and we also don't know how much gas is left in his car. You know, is he contemplating something because of that?
I wonder if he's been traveling at a moderate rate of speed because he wants to go the distance. Because as we know, the faster you go.
Some gas, maybe, yeah.
He's only been going about 50, 60 miles per hour this whole time. It's not a high-speed chase.
Well, and we say that compared to how this chase started. He was quite erratic. He was going the wrong way. He was traveling fast, then slow. He hits a pedestrian. And for the last hour, he's turned into a completely different driver, getting on the freeway, driving in the center lane, maintaining a constant speed, obeying the laws of the road all of a sudden. When maybe he's just contemplating, what do I do next? Who knows? I mean, there's so many possibilities when you're dealing with somebody like this.
And it'd be so interesting to get inside his mind and just find out the why behind it all.
I mean, one last joy ride before you go to jail, because there are a long list of charges that you're going to be facing once you're...
And Bruce, you're still with...
The other thing, too, when you get on the freeway, it's also a more calming effect because it's kind of finite. There's so many exits, so many entrances, multiple lanes of traffic, kind of a speed. So it's just kind of you're just humming along, so to speak.
Now, are you guys all also typically trained, or officer? Look at all the people on the bridge as well. The Looky-Loos running to take a look. So obviously, people are now seeing what's going on. They're probably aware. You can see right there over that bridge as well. But are officers trained in terms of like what these people, what their mindset is all about?
Well, you know, you always want to talk to your suspects, or anybody you arrest. I told my officers to make it a habit. You know, why are you breaking into cars? Where do you hide your drugs? In this case,
buy a Cerritos to smoke the
why
first.
were you running from the police? What was your mindset? Did you really think you were going to get away? These are all valid questions.
Certainly. And if you're taking a look now at the
A1207 copies. Are you looking for a dark gray Nissan Sentra and a white Hyundai Accent?
They were executed well, but he just refuses to give in.
Yeah.
And the car is still functioning, and those are the two factors they've been dealing with for the last hour now.
This persistence of this driver.
81204, I'll show you en route. 81207, you can
steady
1022.
driving throughout this entire chase here.
81207, and even just skidding all the way to the other side, and then flipping that car around and turning around.
3 lanes of the main portion.
I mean, right there it shows erratic behavior. And then we see how he is now just on the freeway, just cruising along.
Yeah, but even after those pit maneuvers, he was very calm.
Yeah.
You didn't get the impression this person was panicked. No. Here's the incident where he hits the scooter rider, and even here, he does not show. Look at that.
He doesn't even. There's no sign of brakes. No sign
Almost
of
looks like he
swerving.
tried to hit the guy, but we can't know what's in his mind.
So now we are passing through Camp Pendleton, and as we've been talking about, if he gets off,
Position,
it's a
special
totally
attention
different
to the units on the
ballgame
91.
because,
Report of a 23103 west on 91 from the 55 on a yellow Chevrolet Camaro weaving in and out lane
I'm
high
going to hand
speed.
this off to David Ono.
West on
Pleasure
91
working with
east
you
of the
as we
55
continue to follow
on
this.
a
David,
yellow
good
Chevy Camaro
afternoon.
weaving in and out of lanes high speed. No further. WPP
And,
White 95
if you are
net.
just joining us now,
1319
we
hours.
are in about 2 hours and 18 minutes of this chase
North at the power plant,
that started in
number 3
Culver
lane, light
City
traffic.
and has ended up here now in Camp Pendleton. Bruce, we've been talking about possibly one of the longest chases that we've seen.
And affirm on the
this
K9,
might
staying in.
go in the top 10, as he's definitely gone from LA County to Orange County, and it looks like he's going to be going to San Diego.
Possibly heading towards the border, that's something that we've been discussing. But if he gets off on the side streets, that is going to change the game of this as well, because he's been very steady, going 50, 60 miles per hour this entire time, and not seeing a lot of erratic behavior in the last hour and a half.
77-120, there's no FST at Channel, sir. They don't go that far south.
I was going to bring in was, anytime you have a pursuit or an incident, they do a debrief or a tactical hot wash. And so what you're going to have is the emergency vehicle operations people are going to look at how the pit maneuvers were done and maybe want to implement some changes to kind of box the vehicle in better, maybe. That might become part of the training.
Yeah, you were saying that, we asked you if we could put a car in front of it and slow it down, what are the different tactics, but maybe the safest way is to just let him run out of gas.
Right.
Yeah, that ultimately is the safest way. Let the vehicle become disabled safely, where you're not locking the steering wheel up. And that's some of the things that they're dealing with in the new technology is if we short the vehicle out, does that lock the steering wheel up? Because obviously you can't have that with a multi-thousand-pound vehicle who basically becomes a missile.
And tell us what the watch commander is probably thinking now, what they're doing, what they're preparing for as they look ahead.
This area, I'm 97 with
They're making the phone calls,
105 Long
along with
Beach.
other information.
They're on the right shoulder now, both
The suspect saying, hey, we're now entering Oceanside. We're now about to enter San Diego County. San Diego County sheriffs putting you on notice.
On 105 and vehicles are on the right shoulder now.
The San Diego area is on notice also to take this pursuit over as the handoff occurs.
And Bruce, it looks like we're getting into the Camp Pendleton area. What would happen as they start to take over?
Well, they would just stay status quo. I mean, you're going to just follow the vehicle. Ultimately, you want it to become disabled, run out of gas. I don't see any intervention coming at a higher speed that he's doing, basically meaning 50 miles an hour. But if he were to become a lower speed, maybe in the 20s or so, I would think you might see another pit maneuver.
Right there on the freeway.
Yeah. And, there's no traffic, so it's not endangering the public. You do have some grass and dirt medium areas. Obviously, you don't want to, throw the vehicle into the train tracks, but there is something that they might try.
Well, from what we understand, this is going to get into the San Diego area, and if it does, we just want to let our viewers know that we're going to stick with this and continue to follow it through. It's been, you've seen the highlights, or what you want to call the notable moments within this pursuit where, in particular, that one person on a scooter was hit. It was a rather tragic moment for that person on the scooter. He is hurt, but not life-threatening. However, seriously hurt where the car actually went over him, and that's why, if you're just tuning in, you see the windshield that is bashed in right there on the front. That is from a human being, from a body actually being thrown onto the vehicle, and it was rather shocking to see. Here we go, and we've stopped it because at this point, the person hit then rolls onto the ground, and the car actually goes over part of him, but he is okay. He's going to survive, but he is injured. In the meantime, when it comes to somebody willing to do that in order to get away, we have to stay with this. It's a very violent situation. Several pit maneuvers you guys have been walking everybody through when it comes to the desperate attempt to get this guy off the freeway. And was that a spike strip?
That was a spike strip.
I think he just hit a spike strip.
Yeah.
Bruce, did you see that?
Yes, I did, and that's a good thing. It means they are going to be taking some intervention. I don't know if Air 7 HD can push in on the CHP vehicles, but they may have some additional bumper area. Yeah, it looks like the suspect...
he's starting to float around a little bit.
Like he did hit it.
Maybe we can play back that spike strip in just a little bit here so we can see how
Confirming
successful it was.
the pursuit.
He seems to be going okay, though, because usually what we'll see is the tires kind of jiggling around, shaking.
It often takes a little time, but you do see some stability
Before I
issues
come,
already
you never got in
in
after
play.
the spike is
You saw him kind of pull out of that one lane, then he started swimming around in that lane just a little bit. I think we're going to start seeing the effects of that spike strip. It was tough to see, but it looked like it could have been a direct hit. I'm not sure if you got a better look at it.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It looks like he did hit it, and obviously they have like little, I'll call them straws in there that puncture the tire, and they do let the air out slowly for safety reasons. But it definitely looks like it served its purpose.
And the way that modern tires are designed right now, even with punctures, as we all know, we get nails in our tires and stuff like that. They don't deflate immediately. They don't explode and burst. It's usually a slow emission of the air inside, and so your flat comes slower, so you can actually get somewhere usually. So it takes a little time sometimes to see effects of these pit maneuvers, but of these spike strips. But what does that tell us, Bruce? Do you think that they're trying to be a little bit more aggressive, getting this guy off the freeway?
Yeah, I think that enough's enough. I think they've realized, you know what, we're going to have to stop this vehicle at some point, and we're going to start using some of our tactics and some of our methods.
Yeah, and I mean, we're 2.5 hours in, so it's either put those spike strips down and start taking a more aggressive stance, or let this guy run out of gas. Clearly, he's not going to be pulling off. He's not going to be slowing down.
Out as often.
He has no regard for anyone.
One pit maneuver right there on the right-hand side. That obviously was earlier today, and you'll notice, though, okay, that was unsuccessful. They did spin him around, but they weren't able to box him in, so he keeps going. I think there were a total of 4 pit maneuvers. Watch closely. Here's another one, and you see when they throw this pit maneuver, pieces of the vehicle are starting to fall off. They flip him around again, but then he's able to get away and keep going. And then there's big pieces of the vehicle right now falling off. They almost got him pinned in there. He actually goes forward, looks like the police vehicle. Then he's able to reverse and go again. But there you see the damage. That's where he lost his bumper and his back windshield. And the 4th pit maneuver right here, it throws them into oncoming traffic. Although luckily there are no vehicles coming. I'm sure they're very cognizant of what was around in the environment. But then it keeps going. So we see 4 different pit maneuvers. We see spike strips, and the vehicle is still on its way now south on the 5 freeway. This again is where he hits the scooter. He runs across the freeway, the intersection, and he hits that person on the scooter, and that shows you the impact. And that's where he busted his front windshield. A lot of damage on that vehicle right now. It's a Honda Civic. But it is durable, and it continues to go.
Yeah, and what we have also seen is we've been incredibly lucky because it's the afternoon hours. There's not a lot of people on the road, unlike rush hour. And so when they did those pit maneuvers and he went into oncoming traffic, there wasn't an issue there.
And holiday traffic, too.
Yeah, exactly. And here we have seen that the CHP officers have been stopping people from going on to the I-5, the 405 South before this, and now the I-5 South here. And so we're not seeing traffic get in the way and potentially put themselves in danger.
81 S11 is 97 El Monte Court.
So he's near Camp Pendleton. So if you're not aware of how SkyMap 7 works, it gives you a lot of information right there on your screen. So down on the left-hand side, you see he's on the I-5 South. His exit he's approaching is 62, which is Las Pulgas Road. It's in Camp Pendleton. So he is right now at that military base. If you're familiar with driving from LA or OC down to San Diego, that's where he is, right in that kind of no man's land of Camp Pendleton. Not a lot of options for him down there. If he does exit, he's going to end up in a military base. But we have a couple of helicopters overhead right now. We want to give you a couple of views. Oh, this is earlier. Okay, on the right-hand side
is this the spikes?
No, it's not earlier. No. Okay, my apologies.
Oh.
These are both our helicopters are up, and these are 2 live looks. One is close up, closer on the car. The other one you see a wider expanse. And if you're familiar with heading down south, then you get to that area where you see the ocean on the right-hand side, the military base on the left-hand side, and really there's nowhere to go.
And at this point, we have to change helicopters because we're running out of gas.
Right.
And so you have to imagine that this guy doesn't have much longer to go, but continues to travel down the 5 freeway. And we've been talking a moderate rate of speed. It's not erratic. He's not driving in a crazy fashion. He's not driving in high speeds. So he certainly has possibly a goal, a destination. Bruce, any insight as to what he might be doing? I mean, it looks like maybe even pulling over.
Yeah, you hate to make assumptions, but if he's not going to pull over, he's going to go all the way to the border, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
Looks like he's slowing down.
It does look like he's slowing down. Maybe he's running out of gas.
Yeah.
Or maybe, he's pulling over.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets tricky.
He may have run out of gas, Bruce. This pursuit, as we've been saying, is going on for quite a long time. Or he's just tired of going, or there's too much damage to his vehicle. We saw the spike strip hit just a few minutes ago. It's just,
27, one ready.
It's just too much. So we're going to watch this.
David, you're 100% right. He may have just gotten to the point where, you know what, I'm just going to give up.
Go ahead.
I hope so.
Yeah.
717 Mary, 105 eastbound, just west of Long Beach, Frank 562-2135. Can you just advise status?
Imagine when a pursuit begins,
Eastbound
you're filled
105
with
west of Long
adrenaline,
Beach,
you just
Frank
go, 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 go. But as
562-2135.
it goes on for hours and hours and hours, you start to settle down, and hopefully you start to think a little bit more rationally. So here we go. We are pulled over on the 5 freeway. This is somewhere near Camp Pendleton, heading south on the 5 towards San Diego. Here's our other helicopter. Shows you the broad shot. There you see vehicles behind the suspect's vehicle. They are set up throughout the 5 freeway. So the 5 freeway, they are trying to stop all traffic. And we just lost that one signal. But here we go. On the right-hand side, weapons are drawn. So Bruce, what's going on here?
What they're doing now, they're conducting a felony traffic stop. They're calling out to the suspect to open the door, come out with your hands up. In this case, walk back to the officers or lay down to the pavement adjacent to the vehicle. And they're going to approach with weapons drawn and less lethal weaponry also.
Yeah, I see that one CHP officer right there. It looked like he had a less than lethal that they're setting up somewhere behind that first vehicle. So they have some options besides deadly force to try to coerce this guy into giving up in case they need to use that. This is also sometimes when they might bring a canine in. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. To bring the canine in if the suspect is non-compliant, they may introduce the canine into the vehicle to get the suspect to comply.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think the watch commander is saying? What is he conducting? What is he telling his officers to do?
At this point, the supervisor on scene, the sergeant, is instructing the officers, and you saw an officer kind of pointing where he wanted the officers to be for this felony.
Cruiser 110, I've got 1182 at 2 at Figueroa and 157. Gray Honda Civic and a light green Toyota.
A lot of things. I mean, this is somebody who, yes, he was hell-bent on getting away from police officers. We don't know if he's normally a violent person. Are the hands out?
Yeah, his hand is out.
Good. Hopefully.
Potentially
From
saying
405 south
yeah, perhaps he is abiding by his instructions. Is that what they're going to tell him to do, is get his hands outside the window?
Yeah, put your hands outside the window, comply with our commands.
South on 405 south of Visa, maroon semi-truck with a white trailer, Union 08738.
And the heightened sense of alert is still there. But he is complying to some degree, so that's a good sign.
Right. And we really hope that this ends peacefully, because we don't know the situation that this driver is in. Perhaps he's having some kind of a mental episode, dealing with some kind of mental illness. We just don't know. He may not be necessarily a violent criminal. He just might be dealing with something else. So we want this to go down peacefully so they can get this person some help in case he needs it. Also, the good news is he has pulled over. It has been a very difficult pursuit for everybody when it comes to what has happened. He hit somebody while he was driving the vehicle. He's endured a number of pit maneuvers. It's gone through Los Angeles County to Orange County, down towards San Diego right now. And so to see this end this way would be a great result considering what we've seen happen so far.
Yeah, really best case scenario, because we saw him plow through and hit a scooter rider, completely just no regard for life here.
So Bruce,
on for 2 hours.
I'm concerned though, did his window go up? Is he still abiding by his orders, or has this settled back a little bit?
He changed his mind to some degree. The window went back up. His hands are back in his lap. He's making further movements, which is never a good sign. But it may turn into a barricaded suspect where they have to call a SWAT team or Special Enforcement Bureau to come out here and extricate this guy.
Oh, no. And that's
the 5 freeway also. Yeah. Let's talk about that. The traffic.
That's going to be a nightmare.
The backup that we're going to have to deal with. And there's a reason why we keep it very wide, because we don't know what's going on inside the car. We don't know if he has a weapon. We don't know.
We don't know anything about the suspect.
No.
And we don't know if he's armed or not. Of course, they have to handle this with the utmost caution and be prepared for anything. And unfortunately, because of the shattered front windshield, it's very difficult to see what he is doing inside of his vehicle. Hopefully, Bruce, the police helicopters that are overhead might have a better view, perhaps shooting it from the side or seeing it from the side. We can't shoot it or see it from our perspective because of that shattered windshield, but that also is a reminder of how bad these pursuits can go.
And the back window, let's not forget, is completely blown out.
Right.
So they might
have a clear view of him from where they're standing.
Yeah.
The one tactical advantage the police have right now is there's no rear window. So if they were introduced some sort of what we call it's a pepper ball, but it has capsicum resin in addition to talcum powder. You can shoot it into the vehicle, and it creates a cloud or curtain of OC spray, which may force this suspect to bail.
Okay, looks like he's moving around in front, grabbing some things from the front.
Yeah, difficult to see. He's definitely in there. He's definitely moving around, but unfortunately, it looked very positive. We saw his hands come out the window, and then all of a sudden, we saw the window go up, and his hands are back inside. So we know this has gone backwards just a little bit when it comes to what it looked like it was going, but it now is a
Information units on the 23-103, last seen north 405 from Lakewood. It's a white Ford Super Duty, they said. Unknown plate weaving in and out of lanes. Seen approximately 2 ago, north 405 from Lakewood. KMA influence clear, 1335.
And where do they come from? Because we're, as we said, in no man's land on the 5 freeway, stuck between 2 counties.
And David, just really quick,
that's
we are hearing
a great question, David, because you're kind of on San Diego sheriffs, who be familiar with, who do they train with, but it can become a jurisdictional issue. And I'm sure the supervisor on scene is talking to the watch commander saying, I need a SWAT team of some sort.
Right.
So I'll let you figure out which one you're going to give me.
So Bruce, we were hearing that he was not complying, but now we've got, so he opened the door, closed the door. When a person like this is not complying, what's the next step?
You're watching it, and I don't mean to be facetious, but it's just a wait and see. We're going to
in and out of lanes at a high rate of speed. 23-103, westbound 210 from Buena Vista, white big rig, unknown plate, in and out of lanes at a high rate of speed. Last seen, want to go, KCQ 240 at 1336.
It could be some travel time, too, to get that team out to where they are. So this could be a prolonged standoff on the 5 freeway, which is always
unfortunately, it does look like one of the CHP vehicles has on the rooftop. It looks like 476.
81-204 has a right along.
They have a K9 designate, so it looks like that is a K9 equipped vehicle.
And are both sides of the freeway shut down at this point from a wide angle? Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, if they haven't shut them down, they're probably getting ready to.
Yeah, they don't probably, just in case, worst case scenario, if something violent goes down, you don't want somebody driving by on the other side of the freeway.
So we've got both sides of the 5 freeway shut down.
We'll try to confirm on what their approach is on whether or not that they are going to do that. Perhaps maybe they have more information. I'm sure they have more information than we do right now about who this person may be.
Open the door again, closed it again.
Mm-hmm. That part is part of what
maybe indications
of his mental stability right now, his indecisiveness. He's probably highly agitated. Let's see, and I could see. I don't see any movement now, but I did see that less than lethal. Like long rifle back there behind that second unit.
He's really moving around kind of erratically in the front now, sticking his arm out. Who knows what that means?
The other thing, too, is the fatigue with the officers holding long rifles or less lethal Remington shotguns in this case. They do weigh a good amount, and so to sit in a position and hold that on a suspect's vehicle, it's kind of tiring. So you may not see them.
120 copy. Party has private assistance 97 in Route 3.
He's clearly communicating with officers. He opened the door. I don't know if he said something, but then he closed it.
405's at the office.
And what do you say to a suspect like this? What would they communicate to them?
You know what? Give up. It's over. Come out peacefully with your hands up. You will not be hurt.
3
Your safety is
westbound
important.
10 at
You're just
Indian
kind of
Hill.
trying to calm
4
that
vehicle
person
TC.
down. Obviously, they're
HOV,
agitated. You guys
number
are
1,
close,
number 2
but
lanes
you
are
do
blocked.
want to just kind of calm them down.
This makes me think that perhaps his vehicle is out of gas because it slowed down. He pulled over to the side, but he's still not ready to give up. I mean, I don't know. It's an assumption here, but perhaps he wasn't ready to call it quits yet, and that's what we're seeing right now. Is obviously he's probably scared for the situation he's in. Yeah, but he doesn't know what to do at this point. But clearly, he doesn't have any options left, really. I mean, he can get out and run, but he's not going to get
and
far.
that's why they're going to shut down the other side of the freeway, just in case he gets out of that vehicle and flees, coming across lanes. Officers have to pursue, and now it becomes a major safety issue.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us, this started about 2.5 hours ago in Culver City. We are now all the way down south near Camp Pendleton area on the I-5 South. There were 4 pit maneuvers. We witnessed as this driver hit and run over a scooter rider, broken numerous laws throughout this 2.5-hour chase. It hasn't been high speeds, pretty moderate.
A spike strip as well on the 5 freeway.
And now it has come to somewhat of an end. He possibly ran out of gas, pulled over, but we understand that he is not complying with officers, and now they're just in a standoff with this driver.
Yeah, and if you look back, you'll see the second CHP vehicle. They're talking about what is our next plan of action. Are we just waiting for the special weapons team to show up? If you look at the posture of the officers, it does seem like it's a waiting game at this point.
Yeah, they're going to sit this out. So perhaps, I don't know, this being a holiday week, maybe the 5 freeway is more sparse than normal. Maybe it's not. Maybe there are people going back and forth between San Diego and Orange County, LA. But boy, this is a real problem if some commuters want to go back and forth. This could be a long shutdown. And then, Bruce, let's say hypothetically this ends peacefully and they're able to get this guy out, get him under arrest. Is there a prolonged investigation at this scene, or do they completely open it up as quickly as possible?
They're going to open up as quickly as possible. There's not a prolonged investigation because they can move the vehicles off the side into maybe taking up and the emergency disabled lane. It kind of stands on its own. It's the end of the pursuit. Yes, we have to tow the vehicle. Yes, we have to inventory the vehicle.
Two vehicle 1181 again 1090 hospital.
The rear seat of a car and ultimately the side door. But no, they're going to open it up as quickly as possible.
10-4, Foothill Presbyterian.
Right.
You can see in that front car there, the K9 is now out of the car. Doesn't look like they're ready to unleash him yet, but certainly preparing as one of the options to get that suspect out of the vehicle. What's the protocol of letting the K9 go and snag a suspect, Bruce?
Well, ultimately, it's the K9 officer's call. He or she knows the capability of their dog. They're going to have to walk up to that vehicle to a certain degree and release that dog and put the dog to work. That dog is going to jump into the car. Ultimately, they're going to have to support the dog, meaning they're going to have to get in there while the dog is doing its job as a fight dog to control the
unable to maintain lane 23103. Westbound 10 from Azusa, white vehicle, unknown plate, unable to maintain lane.
Right.
Time is now, nothing further,
barking
CCQ 240 at
the noises
1342.
it's making, possibly scaring the suspect, or I'm sure that's what they're hoping it'll do to coax that person out without getting attacked by a very vicious dog.
Once you take the dog out of the car, the K9 knows it's time to go to work. They get agitated, they get loud, and that's part of the command presence of the dog.
Well, there you see in this shot, we
Westbound
can
91
see
Bellflower. There
the
was a big rig
driver
leaking coolant
from his driver's side
onto the right
window.
tail end.
It's a
lane.
good shot. And
Again,
you
just a
see
broadcast only for officer
this
safety and motor
officers
units.
set up
Westbound 91
behind the
Bellflower
driver
for
as
coolant.
well. But
In the slow
a
lane
decent
right
shot.
shoulder.
It just looks like he's just kind of sitting there wiggling around. I can't tell. We don't want to push in too closely just in case. That's why we're holding this, and you can see how everybody is positioned right now. It's kind of a waiting game. But he is there moving around. We don't know if he's actually communicating with somebody, talking on his cell phone, maybe talking to the officers behind him. We hope that there's progress going on, some kind of discussion, a conversation. Bruce, if they know who this guy is, they've probably done a little bit of an investigation on what might be happening, perhaps talk to family members, etc., trying to figure out a way to get him out.
Yeah, not only that, but they're also building a history of this guy. Does the guy have dependency issues? Maybe mental health issues? Maybe other things going on in his life which are causing this? So they're being sympathetic to that, but they want to gather information. It does look like his window is halfway down, and he might be smoking a cigarette, and maybe when he's done, he's going to walk out of the vehicle.
Right. A lot of people, we've seen that before in other pursuits where they know that they're going to go away, and some of them are going away for a long time because they have not just the pursuit that they're in right now, but perhaps a list of warrants and felonies attached to them, so they know that they're going to go away, so they kind of have that ceremonial last cigarette before they give themselves up. Let's hope perhaps that that's what he's doing, is mulling it over and say, this is it for me, but we don't know for sure.
Now, how many more officers do we need, and do there need to be here? Are they going to be calling for backup to maybe start moving forward? What's the protocol?
I think what you have is pretty finite. You have at least 4 or 5 CHP vehicles there as their single occupant vehicles. So you may have 5 officers there, plus a supervisor, a couple of motor officers. Caltrans is definitely there to assist the freeway closure. But at this point, they're not going to introduce any other patrol officers in the problem. The next personnel you see will be specialized SWAT officers.
Right, and from what we understand, we're getting information that they have been called to the scene, which is what we already anticipated, but we have confirmation that that is happening. What we don't know is where they're coming from. So they could have a bit of a drive just to get to this location right there at Kent Pendleton on the 5 freeway heading south.
And if they're
my guess is probably San Diego who, like you said, David, do have a drive to get there. But what you're going to see when they do get there, they're going to introduce the Bearcat or armored vehicle into the front of the suspect vehicle, basically saying, you're not going anywhere, and we have a great vision into the vehicle.
And Bruce, we're seeing traffic now on the other side of the 5, which is interesting because this is a standoff situation. There could be stray bullets if anything were to happen. It's a very dangerous situation. Is this standard procedure here?
You know, I'm surprised they haven't shut the freeway down. I don't know if they're just waiting for resources in the area to do so, or they do want to keep it open. But ultimately, as you say, this could turn into a very, very dangerous situation.
Yeah. And then already this event is slowing down traffic. You see the rubbernecking, the looky-loos going by, and it's already getting bogged down on that side of the freeway. People going slowly. I think the news media from down south might be showing up as well to shoot this from the side of the freeway. So it's getting a lot of attention right now. And imagine if this is the slowdown from the northbound lanes that aren't shut down. Imagine what it must look like on the southbound lanes where they are shutting down traffic. That's going to be a mess. They're having to get people off the freeway, reroute them. And if you're heading south, it's tough because what are your options?
Right.
You know? You don't have many options at this point when it comes to getting south unless you want to backtrack and go completely around. So it's going to be a tough commute for folks who want to get down to San Diego. But more importantly, we continue to watch this standoff. There you see the red Honda Civic back windshield is busted out. Its bumper is gone. Its front windshield is shattered. We believe its tires have been punctured. It's been through a lot, and it's been quite a pursuit on the better part of 3 hours now.
Yeah, why don't we take a look
David,
at
South Pacific Boulevard, gray Super Shuttle versus a white Ford Expedition center device?
The CHP officers, because it looks like the window is down to some degree.
Just a crack, yeah. He's been waving his arms out, opening the door, but we understand not complying. And throughout this entire situation, it's been very dangerous. We'll show you those pit maneuvers that the car endured, and of course the driver too, very successfully, but unfortunately didn't slow him down at all. But they were able to hit him every single time and cause some significant damage to the car. And despite that, here we are. 2 and about 45 minutes later, so 2 hours, 45 minutes later, coming up to 3 hours now, that this car is able to continue down south.
You see the hole in his
81-108,
back windshield.
UTL
From
to
what
Monte
I believe,
Vista, will
I
notify
understand that's how
Rancho.
this whole thing started. They saw that hole in the back windshield. They tried to pull him over. There, the whole windshield goes away. But it all started because officers saw that hole in his windshield, tried to pull him over, and then he refused to pull over, and then the pursuit was on, and it became very violent. And there you see
Five
the
for metal
bits
debris
and
in the
pieces
number
of
three.
that car. This is the fourth pit maneuver. So, Bruce, when they do a pit maneuver, what is the goal? Does it often stall out the car, and is that
It appears Rancho actually transferred this call to us.
They have all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. And when it loses traction, the modern cars shut down.
And there you see the scooter rider getting hit, his head smashing into the windshield. That's caused significant damage. And assuming poor visibility for that driver, we are happy to report that scooter rider is going to be okay and was transported with non-life-threatening injuries despite hitting his head and getting
He's double-checking westbound side. I'm going to contact him now.
Threatening, but that was a shocking thing to see. We stopped it because we didn't want you to see the whole thing, because we did see that person then roll to the street, and he was hit by the car again. So we'll try to get more information on that part of this story. This is obviously a story that's spread out throughout Southern California. Obviously, we're covering multiple angles on this, but this is the most important part right now. Now it's making sure that this guy gives up and hopefully peacefully. Plus, they could reopen the freeways. Then we can figure out what started this, who he is, and the after effects and the aftermath of this very long pursuit.
Bruce,
David, I don't know if Sky Air 7 HD can pull out, but it looks like there's maybe some media setting up on the center median, which is causing the backup on the northbound 5.
Yeah, that's what I was pointing out a little bit earlier, that it looks like perhaps the media, I don't know where they're from, perhaps they're from San Diego that drove up. But they're setting up right over there. There is a CHP motorcycle officer there as well, so at least somebody's monitoring what they're doing.
Southbound 5 north of Las Vegas, and you're going 98. There is a lot of residual traffic back up into Capistrano area.
And I'm trying to remember that area, but I think the northbound side is a little higher grade than the southbound side, so they may be looking down, which does provide safety and cover.
And you got that fence.
Cerritos is north of First.
But yeah, take a look at the traffic. Wow, that backup and that bottlenecking that we've been talking about. Both of these pictures are live images. We've got somebody on the ground
there. And 5593 Santa, was that your traffic?
And on this side, you're not even getting through. So it's going to be
Southwest 10 from Century as a 3 ago. So white pickup truck driving erratic in lane. Senior Parkway 3 ago, Southwest 10 from Century. No further. TMA 81 is clear. 1351.
Or did they get in further than, let's say, the normal at the front of the shutdown is what Michael is telling me. So there you see it. They pushed way in. So they're quite a ways from the situation. But there you see, there they are, Las Pulgas Road. We saw them go right by there. That is exit number 62. If you're familiar with this area, there's Camp Pendleton on your left, and the ocean is going to be on your right. And that's heading southbound. So that's where the 5 freeway is shut down. You see the traffic on the left-hand side. That's northbound traffic on the 5 freeway. The southbound traffic completely shut down. You see 2 different levels of officers that are set up. This first group right here, right in front of our camera, and then that second group, we believe that's where the suspect is on the other side of those police vehicles that are set up. Then you see the news vehicles on the left-hand side there. And Veronica, you said you think that they might be stringers, which means they're independent of any entity.
Right. Exactly. Just as we're planning ahead here.
Chevron UTL on the 1125 cabinet. Just so you know, traffic.
This live on our website and Facebook social media platforms, so you can stay with us as we continue to watch this very dangerous pursuit, but we will be continuing into programming.
And then at 3 p.m., Eyewitness News at 3 will begin. We're going to have a lot more on this story and perhaps be able to answer some of those questions. I'm very concerned about the person on that scooter, who he is, how he's doing, the type of injuries that he got, because that was really shocking to see. And it's one of those things where I'm surprised we don't see that more often. We see so many of these pursuits that they just fly through these intersections, barely missing people. Well, this time he didn't miss.
Yeah. A lot of near misses, but in this case, there were no signs of break.
Got at 20,002 when you're clear to copy.
Plowed through that intersection and hit that scooter rider.
Sir, 20,002 occurred northbound 405 on Alameda off-ramp.
We see a lot more
parties are off of the freeway now at Dominguez and Alameda.
We're still waiting to get one of those armored cars, as we've been talking about, right, Bruce?
Yeah, technically they're called Bearcats, but they're basically an
Like
armored
victim is going to be in a gray or green waste management truck.
The sheriff has. The officers are protected inside. They can get right up on this vehicle and introduce whatever they need to do to get this guy out of the vehicle.
And how
97 times
would you
1351
let this
1351.
standoff continue? I mean, as
Your
long
log
as it
is
takes for hours, at what point do you end it?
You know, that's a great mindset question, because at some point you do have to end it. However, you want to end it safely for everybody involved. You know, to take a human life, God forbid, there's a reference for that. And it does weigh on the officer's mind ultimately, because you question yourself, what else could we have done to get this guy out of the vehicle?
There's all sorts of things that law enforcement has to think about that we don't ever consider. It's such a difficult job. And then, you know, my question is, who is this person in this vehicle? And it just doesn't seem normal. Perhaps he's going through something.
A gold Toyota Camry, high speeds in and out of lane. South on 5 north of Camino Capistrano, a gold Toyota Camry.
Don't care about
No
what
further.
they do,
WPP.
because he ultimately hit the guy with the scooter and he left. He doesn't care about this person, but as we in law enforcement, or even a general citizen, would be like, you know what, I care, I'm going to stop, I'm going to see what's going on. But in their mindset, they don't have wanton disregard for anybody's safety.
Yeah, you're pulled in two different directions, because you have to stop him for public safety, but at the same time you have to consider his own safety, and it's polarizing. It's got to be maddening sometimes in dealing with that. But this is the, I guess, best case scenario, where you see this guy, he's pulled over on the side of the road, he hasn't jumped out, he hasn't pulled out a gun, you know, and tried to run. So we're hoping for the best when it comes to getting this thing over peacefully.
Bruce.
Yeah, and ultimately, who cares for the suspect or the victims in this? It's the law enforcement, it's the emergency personnel. And so we are torn in two different ways. We want the suspect to go in custody, but also if he or she is hurt, we have to make sure they get the medical treatment they need. So we are pulled in different directions.
Right.
Bruce, it looks like there's Border Patrol vehicles here that we can see. Why would they be involved? Why would they be assisting here?
You know, I don't, that's a good question. I don't know if maybe because of the area that they're in, maybe he's not that close to the border, if I remember correctly. He's still a ways away.
He's still a ways.
But they might just be for like a mutual aid command post type thing.
There may be a border checkpoint near there. I think I recall a truck checkpoint somewhere in that area. So maybe they're just assisting because they're nearby, so at least with the traffic.
Yeah, David, I think you are right on that. I think there is one on the northbound lane somewhere over there, like you have on the 15 coming from California and Nevada.
So here we are. Clearly, this has become a waiting game. So by the posturing, the physicality of the police officers, of the officers out there, you can see that they are, I wouldn't say standing down, but they are letting this thing play out, waiting obviously for the SWAT team to show up, perhaps the Bearcat, and try to drive this thing to a conclusion.
Yeah, their posturing has definitely gone down from a 10 probably to about a 6. You don't have multiple officers. Looks like you have one officer with a long rifle. The rest are in a ready position, and they are waiting for additional resources.
And those resources, are they, they're specialized in negotiating, isn't that right, Bruce? They know how to handle these
Yeah, they come with what they call a CNT, a crisis negotiating team. Someone who specializes in talking to distraught people, suspects who want to give up, or people who want to hurt themselves. That's their specialty. So I'm sure but to get one of those involved in the scene, they have to round them up. They have to get them here. That takes additional time.
Now, it looks like we are about 3 minutes away from General Hospital. So just a reminder, we will be streaming this live on our website and on our social media platforms, but we will be going into regular scheduled programming here on ABC 7.
We'll continue to watch this for the next couple of minutes and then steer you over. But that's where we are. That is our ground camera on the right-hand side, and obviously Air 7 overhead on the left-hand side. So the suspect is in that red Civic, Honda Civic. It's beat up because this has been one crazy pursuit, multiple pit maneuvers. You see on the ground side camera on the right, you see all that traffic on the northbound side of the 5 freeway. You see the media set up over there as well. That is building up because it's become quite the spectacle. On the the southbound side, or the right-hand side, it is completely shut down. So they're seeing something that's highly unusual, a very large police presence, multiple vehicles, multiple agencies. So they're slowing down to take a look, and also the media there. You can see, again, on the left-hand side, Air 7, it's a great shot overhead of all that is going on when it comes to this incident. The media has been moved down now. They were directly across from it. I think officers have moved them up the road just a little bit for their own safety, and they're now shooting back on this situation. The red Honda is isolated right there at the very top of that little square, and there's the police vehicles behind them, or the CHP vehicles behind them, all the traffic going by. A ground camera on the right-hand side shows you those are the only vehicles or officers' vehicles present. There are multiple vehicles in different layers there, so quite a spectacle. And we're waiting for the SWAT team to come. We don't know where they're coming from because this is out there in no man's land at Camp Pendleton. If you're familiar with this area, it is nothing but barren land and nowhere to go.
Yeah, quite the presence here, and quite the backup. And if you're going to be in this area, really just try and avoid it, because we don't know how long this is going to go on for. It could be minutes, it could be hours. We just certainly can't predict what this driver is going to be doing.
Okay, it is 1:59. We're getting close to the end of this broadcast. We're going to move over to abc7.com and our ABC7 app. General Hospital is coming up, and we're going to be back here on Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock with the very latest on this pursuit.
Northbound 57, south of Yorba Linda.
All right, and if you are just joining us now on the website, we just ended our regular scheduled programming. We are now streaming on our website, on our social media apps, and heading into continuous coverage here as we see this now 3-hour-long pursuit continue on, and it's been miles and miles of driving, 4 pit maneuvers, a spike strip attempt to slow this car down. This car hit a pedestrian, and now we are in a standoff situation.
Right, so we're going to watch this through, and it could be, to warn you, it could be quite a long wait because of the, we're waiting for the SWAT team to show up here. We don't know where they're coming from, but because this is isolated, this is way out on the 5 freeway somewhere, we don't know if they're coming from San Diego, or they're coming from OC, or they're coming from LA. We just don't know. So we are trying to get that information, but we do know somebody is coming. Bruce, are you still with us?
Yes, I am, David.
Great to have you. So here we are, waiting this out. Any observations, anything you could tell folks who are just tuning in?
You know, just kind of what you said, avoid the area, be patient. I know it's inconvenient, but in this case, the officers have to maintain what they're doing for everybody's safety. And I know people want to get home, people have to get to work.
And 8390, have you
it's just
sent
one of
have a
those
great
other
day, sir. Thank you.
inconvenience by a suspect who doesn't care about what they've entailed.
Bruce, is it pretty unusual to have the northbound side of this freeway open? I'm really surprised that they've even allowed the news media to pull over and shoot, even if from a distance.
Yeah, I think in this case,
Go ahead, sir.
Stringers got there before CHP could
Yeah, call the
really
TC Southbound 605 North.
moving. They kind of
Telegraph on the right
themselves.
shoulder.
The other thing, too, is I know every time a freeway is shut down for a protracted amount of
Someone's
time,
trying to wave me down. I
they have
overshot
to
him.
answer to officials up north in Sacramento.
Old vehicle and
So,
silver vehicle. Mike,
the last thing you want to do is shut down.
Copy, silver vehicle versus gold vehicle, both on the right shoulder, southbound 605 north of Telegraph, 83650 Los
But
Angeles.
they're trying to get through traffic, too.
We're going to sit and watch this as it continues on, and as we said, and Bruce is going to help us through this, as we wait for this SWAT team to show up, we're also watching carefully the northbound lanes of the 5 freeway. We're watching to see if they, in fact, eventually shut that down as well. They're keeping it open, letting traffic continue to move on, although we'll tell you, look, sometimes it's barely moving.
What a mess.
It's a mess. The 5 freeway is an absolute mess right now. We're going to give you an update on how it's affecting the rest of Southern California and when it comes to getting back and forth on Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock. In the meantime, kind of a nightmare.
I think what you'll see is once the special weapons teams get there and start to set up, they will shut down the northbound lanes because they're going to want an operational area free and clear of prying eyes, so to speak.
So this traffic is going to
overshot a 1182 or 1183 on the southbound 605 north of Telegram. Cold vehicles, silver people, both on the right shoulder.
There's not a lot of places to go where they are, so I wonder where they'll shut that down because they have to shut it down in a place where people can be steered off the freeway. So,
you would think, but unfortunately in that area, the no man's land, as you called it, which is apropos, they're just going to shut it down, and these people are just going to be parked, shut your vehicle off, and just relax.
Wow.
That is a nightmare.
Right. That's when everybody has to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Stuck out there and you got no options.
You got somewhere to go, and it can actually also be dangerous. Somebody has a medical emergency.
Yeah.
An ambulance needs to go.
It's one of those things. You've been warned, and I know the information is getting out there in multiple sources. Stay off the 5 freeway right now, especially if it's south of Orange County and north of San Diego County. Just don't go on the 5 freeway because it's going to be a mess. So here we are.
Yeah,
waiting.
That's when social media is really advantageous. I'm sure. I know CHP is tweeting it. San Diego sheriffs are tweeting it. Orange County sheriffs. They're all putting it out there. Just be aware of what's going on.
Right.
Bruce, can you take us through the steps of what's going to happen once the Bearcat arrives, which is that armored vehicle that you've been talking about, and the negotiation process?
Yeah, what you're seeing is you're seeing some additional units show up, and that might be a supervisor for CHP beyond the rank of a sergeant who's a middle line supervisor, a lieutenant, or maybe even a captain of their rank structure, is taking over the incident. Maybe more experience or just is able to get the resources they need on a higher demand level. So once special weapons teams start to show up, they are going to relieve the officers on the felony stop. In other words, insert their own specialized officers into that problem and then use the Bearcat when it shows up to block the vehicle in.
All right, so that's what we are in store for. We just don't know when they're going to arrive, and maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe he'll just be tired of sitting in his car and he'll finally give up. We don't know who the suspect is. We don't know what his situation is. We do know that the car was initially pulled over, or they tried to pull the car over towards Inglewood.
Initially. In Culver City.
In Culver City.
Yeah,
in Culver City. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's why I looked at you, Veronica, because I know you've been here the entire time. But I know that he had a hole in the back windshield, a pretty sizable hole, like a big rock went through it.
Really suspicious, and that's why they were trying to pull him over, and that's when this chase started, and then everything ensued. And then once he hit that pedestrian on that scooter, then everything changed, because at that point, now he's wanted for an assault with a deadly weapon and a hit and run on top of all of the other charges like evading police. So this went from being somewhat of a chase to now a very serious situation.
57 boy, one call for 1179 northbound 57 south of Imperial. A Silverado Camry versus the guardrail, right shoulder.
As we continue to watch the goings on here, we don't know who that suspect is. We don't know why he did what he did, but somebody is hurt, and a lot of people are inconvenienced now due to this shutting down the 5 freeway. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yourself and Veronica have said it. You've got freeway stuck. It is gridlocked. So to get the resources there is another problem because the emergency lanes are taken up by media or maybe disabled vehicles. So they may even have to introduce specialized personnel via helicopter.
Wow.
To get them there.
How does that work?
They would load up these SWAT guys in the helicopter, drop them off, and then they would have to walk into the scene. However, they're not necessarily going to have their specialized armored Bearcats. That eventually will get there. That's why it makes me seem that they're going to come from San Diego, as at least that side of the freeway northbound is moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is something, though. If they run into traffic, it's going to be tedious for them to get through it. I mean, they will get through it, but that's a tough one, though. Because once
all lanes are gridlocked.
Yeah, boy, that's a mess. We'll try to get you more information when it comes to the traffic situation out there. But, you know, that's just one more dynamic to this ever-expanding story that started here in Los Angeles, but then expanded throughout Orange County and down now to San Diego County. We have multiple TV markets involved, multiple police agencies involved, and still questions remain. Where is the SWAT team coming from and how far are they coming? How long is it going to take them to get here? So, and then we still don't know exactly why he pulled over. My suspicion, though, Bruce, is that it was he ran out of gas. That's what I'm thinking, because that vehicle suddenly started slowing down, and it got slower and slower and slower until he just pulled over, and he still did not give up. So that makes me think that this pursuit went so long, he just ran out of fuel.
Yeah, then the bigger question is, why isn't he giving up? Is there something else going on? Obviously, in his mindset, which may not be 100% like a normal person's, there's some other issues that are going on with the driver.
Yeah, he could be going through some sort of an episode. There's something that is preventing him from thinking clearly here, because the outcome is going to be that he's going to be taken into custody, whether it's with him cooperating or not. There's nowhere for him to go, especially if his car is disabled, which I believe it is because he hasn't taken back off, and he's just sitting there. So, and he can't run anywhere.
You're clear. We're 500 available.
I'm not sure.
There's suspicious circumstances for a passageway on the northbound 605 to the side. There's a brown Toyota hatchback in the door plate. There's two Hispanic people adults out of the vehicle looking down into a hole in the construction area.
More trained in getting suspects out of finite structures, meaning cars, buildings, that kind of thing. Where the canine for CHP may be just maybe a scent type pursuit dog and maybe not a bite dog.
Right, right. Yeah, and those dogs are highly trained and they're frightening. I did some training with
northbound
SCB,
605 right at the core point of the 5.
And one day we did train with dogs, and boy, they'll take you down so fast. They aren't even that, some of them aren't that big.
No, the mountain walk,
501 also advised from the office.
They're just very fast, very agile.
Oh, my corrections, 651, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Take you down in that bite suit.
Absolutely, they do. They're highly trained and very powerful, and it is frightening, and that's part of the plan, I imagine, is you want the suspect to be scared of them. You want them to be scared enough to give up, to where nobody gets hurt.
You in the bite suit were scared.
Oh yeah, and that's true. I had that bite suit on.
Toyota Corolla.
I was standing there.
At 30
I was braced.
I
was ready to let it go, and it was a 45-pound dog. It wasn't that big of a dog.
Corolla,
he took me down.
No further. WPPC
I did show it on television too, so I was embarrassed. But what the heck? You know, it does show how powerful these animals are.
Northbound 5 to the northbound 405.
And once the
it's
guy
a white
says
Acura,
go, they
steel
go.
tire,
I mean,
no
and
goods
they're
there.
on you
It's on the
in
right
a
shoulder.
second.
FSP open room.
Yeah, as soon as they get out of that car, it's game time.
Yeah. So that is an option. We've seen less than lethals. So again, less than lethal. Can you explain what that is? What the options are? What are they capable of doing to the suspect in the vehicle in order to get him out?
Less lethal. There's a couple of different less lethals. There's less lethal shotgun rounds, or beanbag rounds as they're called. They're designed to hit you at a force of impact to get you to drop an edge-type weapon, maybe get you in compliance. Then they have an Arwin round, which is a rubber piton bullet, which is a little bigger in stature, 47 millimeters, which is designed to hit you a lot harder, maybe to get you to drop a nice edge-type weapon, get you compliance. Then they also have pepper ball guns. Just like you have in
22
paintball,
Silver Dodge Ram in the slow lane.
and
Start
they
FSP.
introduced blast shattering rounds, and then they have what they call OC rounds, which have oleocopsicon resin and talcum powder, and they can be introduced into a area where the suspect is to create a curtain of OC spray, which gets compliance because you can't breathe, you cough, your eyes start to water. Once again, all compliance measuring devices, and on a force barometer or force scale, it's above verbal commands and hands-on. And then ultimately, if none of that works, then you have a serious situation.
We've got something going on here. The dog's going in. The dog they just sent the dog in. The door opened. They sent the dog in, and the officers came rushing in behind him. So this thing is going down faster than we thought. So we saw initially they let the dog go. We saw the darker uniformed officers, about 4 of them, ran in there. The dog got to the suspect, and we'll have to replay it for you. There's multiple, no, that's the dog there on the left-hand side. He did his job. The suspect is out of the vehicle. It happened so quickly. I'm actually surprised, but wow, they got him out, and we'll bear with us while we try to re-rack the video of what just happened. But boy, that came out of nowhere. But you see the suspect down on the ground. Bruce, are you surprised?
No, I think what they realized was that the special weapons team was not going to get there anytime soon, and they have a canine, and the watch commander on scene made the determination to send the canine in, let the canine do what it does, what it's trained to do, get compliance. They saw an opening, and they went for it.
Wow. You know, this is interesting, too, because you have these 2 police units right there, right up to the side of him, so they get a good look inside at that suspect, too. So I'm sure that they've been talking about this, setting this up. Now the paramedics are there to render some aid. He's probably injured to some degree due to the dog or just forcibly coming out of the vehicle. There's the suspect now.
North of the Ortega.
Trying to get a good look at him. They're gathered around him. He's probably injured. It looks like they're wiping his face. Perhaps he hit the concrete hard. And Michael, if you're in the booth, just let me know when you have that video set to go, so we can take a good look at it. And I'll warn the viewers that here we go. We're gonna see how this thing went down, but it went down very quickly. And they're rendering some sort of aid. I wonder. It looks like to his face. I wonder if he hit the pavement really hard due to sending the dog in. So the paramedics are there. There he is. He's standing up. They're putting gauze of some sort on his face. He might have hit that pavement pretty hard. And so they're walking him over. They're probably going to sit him down over there on the grass right now. They continue to render some aid. But that is a suspect that has been in that vehicle. Apparently he's been in that vehicle all by himself. And the person that they've been pursuing for the better part of 3 hours now. He's been injured. That's a ground camera there on the right-hand side. Air 7 HD overhead on the left-hand side. So the good news here, Bruce, is that this thing is coming to
Walnut Drive south. So the white Prius versus the white Scion XP.
Moving him away from the vehicles right now as they render some aid. And hopefully they'll be able to open this freeway up pretty soon, but I imagine the damage is done for quite a while.
Yeah, but the investigation is very finite. There was a use of force by the dog. That won't take a lot to investigate, and my guess is they'll probably open up about half of the lanes of the freeway probably within the next 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, they still do. That's a good point, though. They still have to do some sort of investigation now, especially now that they've used the dogs. The suspect is injured to some degree. They're rendering help right now. My assumption is it's from him going down hard, but I don't know. It was difficult to see. There were a bunch of people on him immediately. I couldn't see what he was doing either. All I saw was the dog leading the way, and the dog was followed by a good 4 to 6 officers, and they were on him in about 2 to 3 seconds. So again, we're trying to re-rack that video. We'll bring that to you in just a second. But this is the scene live right now. That's the suspect on the left-hand side on the grass. It's hard to see because there are multiple officers gathered around him. On the right-hand side are ground camera, and you see all the police vehicles that are in the freeway right now. The 5 freeway southbound is completely shut down and has been for quite some time. Northbound is affected as well from the folks looking on, slowing way down, trying to see what's going on. The media is there as well. We believe that came up from the south, from San Diego. So this is getting a lot of attention right now. The 5 freeway, an absolute mess. As for the injuries to the suspect, we don't know yet. So you see multiple officers gathered around him. You see them attending to his face immediately before they even picked him up and walked him out of there. Paramedics are there as well, helping him out. And Bruce, yeah, we never got to see the Bearcat or the SWAT team come in. And you think perhaps time was of the essence. They had to get this thing over with.
Yeah, but I think that the on-scene watch commander who was controlling this incident made the determination we're not going to get those resources anytime soon. You know what? We have what we need to have here to take care of this. We have a K-9. Let's deploy the K-9 since we have an opportunity. And if one arose, and it did, and they ultimately are taking the suspect into custody with minimal amount of use of force.